Chapter 305. The departing Flame Marquis was a first-grade military marquis, leading troops outside all year round. If there was nothing major, he could not easily return to Imperial City. There had to be something important happening today. Today was not a normal imperial banquet. Actually, some people had already noticed that there was a high platform in front of the royal palace. It looked like a platform for generals and a platform for rewards, but they did not know what it was used for. The departing Flame Army soldiers went to rest. The others continued to wait in place. At this time, the departing Flame Marquis looked over at Chu Tian like an eagle, falling onto Nangong Yun behind him. His eyes turned cold as he coldly said, "Nangong Yun, you are a descendant of the Nangong family, yet you are standing behind a bastard from a small clan. Not bowing to this marquis and not bowing to the ruler, you truly do not consider yourself a member of the Nangong family." With these words, everyone's attention was focused on him. During this boring wait, it wasn't bad to have a good show to watch. The Southern Summer King's eyes sparkled a few times, but he did not say anything. It seemed like he did not plan on interfering. Nangong Yun's expression was a bit unnatural. This was the family's most famous marquis, and above him was the Nangong family's supreme burning sun ruler. The pressure Nangong Yun faced could be imagined. Greetings to the departing Flame Marquis. Nangong Yun was not a weak person, so he bravely stood up. Greetings to the ruler. The Southern Summer King deliberately said, Burning Sun ruler, the Nangong family has such an outstanding descendant, so why has this king never seen him before? Nangong Yun is outside all year round. It is normal for your majesty not to have seen him before. The Burning Sun ruler's aura was like that of a lion, covering Nangong Yun with a pressure. It's not too late to come back now, don't make the same mistake again. The family has already recognized your potential, so this ruler can guarantee that as long as you come back, we will not make it hard for you. The Burning Sun ruler knew how important Nangong Yun was. This junior that was not valued by the Nangong family had actually become a high-level executive of miracle commerce. If he could grasp Nangong Yun in his hands, the Nangong family would have a way to infiltrate the fathead that was miracle commerce. I have good prospects in miracle commerce, so I don't have any plans to go back for now. Nangong Yun was truly worthy of being Nangong Yun. Even in front of the high-status Burning Sun ruler, she still dared to say these words, "Please be assured, ruler, Nangong Yun will forever be the descendant of the phoenix. This will not change even in death." The Burning Sun ruler knit his brows. "What a joke!" The departing Flame Marquis said with a cold laugh, "Do you think this is a negotiation? What you've done since you left the Nangong family has severely violated the rules and laws of the family. If you don't return to the family and ask for forgiveness, then I'll have no choice but to cripple you myself to restore the family's reputation." Humph, what an arrogant fellow. Your grandfather, Chu Tian, is here. How dare you threaten my people? If I don't teach you a lesson, you won't know how powerful I, Chu Tian, am. Chu Tian glanced at Gu Qianqiu and the others. The departing Flame Marquis is truly awe-inspiring. An old man holding a long staff walked out of the crowd. It wasn't anyone else, it was the great scholar Gu Qianqiu. Gu Qianqiu even dared to scold the calm martial ruler, not to mention a trivial departing Flame Marquis. It was not convenient for Chu Tian to appear, so it was best for him to speak. His Majesty and the Burning Sun ruler have not said anything about punishing her, but you want to cripple Nangong Yun. What qualifications do you have to do this? Or are you afraid of something? The Burning Sun ruler coldly looked at him. Don't you think the great scholar is meddling in the Nangong family's matters? Family matters? Is it really just a family matter? Gu Qianqiu said with a smile, "This matter is not just your family matters, but rather it is a matter of the country, a matter of the world. This old man cannot turn a blind eye to this matter." The Burning Sun ruler's old face turned dark. This old mouth really knew how to speak nonsense. Anything could be pulled together by him. What fucking country matters was this? Gu Qianqiu righteously said, "Nangong Yun is a genius of Southern Xia and her talent is rarely seen in my Southern Xia. However, because of the Burning Sun ruler's selfishness and the departing Flame Marquis' shameless actions, she has been excluded from Imperial City for 10 years. I want to ask everyone, How many decades can a genius have? Her golden years have been ruined by these fellows. Isn't this Southern Xia's sorrow? Isn't this Southern Xia's great loss? Southern Xia has been established for several hundred years, but there are many internal disasters and the war hounds outside. There are no geniuses and the palace is filled with rotten wood. It is all because of your despicable ways. This was not the first time Gu Qianqiu said these words, but this time he was saying them in front of the Southern Summer King and the Burning Sun ruler. This was slapping the Nangong family's face and slapping the Burning Sun ruler's face. It could be seen that the Burning Sun ruler's face was already dark. It was fine if it came from other people's mouths, but if it came from the great scholar's mouth, it would have a completely different meaning. With the great scholar's influence, scolding the Burning Sun ruler and the departing Flame Marquis would quickly spread across the country, and it would be a large blow to the Nangong family. Family scandals could not be spread out. There was indeed something hidden in this matter. This old man has always been puzzled. Zhao Pu came out to add insult to injury. Nangong Yun has a rare god-level source spirit and would be heavily cultivated even in a large kingdom, but the Nangong family treats her like chicken ribs. Could it be that the Nangong family has so many geniuses that they can't accept a single god-level source spirit? Another scholar came out. According to this old man's knowledge, Nangong Yun was a supporter of the Blazing Flame Marquis. When the Blazing Flame Marquis died in battle, before his heroic soul had even passed away and his corpse had not even turned cold, his influence was immediately cut down and many people with unlimited potential were expelled. Could it be that the Burning Sun ruler did not know? Not only did the Burning Sun ruler know, he even allowed this matter to happen. This kind of method is a disgrace to the spirits of the Blazing Flame Army. The Nangong family's method is unfair. If the descendants of those who died in battle were like the Blazing Flame Marquis, then who would die for the Southern Summer Country? Immediately, a group of people began to shout out and the topic was placed on the sensitive Blazing Flame Marquis. The Burning Sun ruler's anger almost burst out of his chest. The matter of the Blazing Flame Marquis was something he would never forget, but now that these damn dogs had jumped out to bite him, he couldn't bite them back, right? In terms of arguing, he could not beat these people. It was fine if he didn't say anything, but once he did, they would find a flaw and he would be fiercely criticized. The departing Flame Mark angrily said, "What kind of things are you, daring to slander the ruler?" Damn, this Marquis did not provoke these mad dogs. What was wrong with these mad dogs? Why did they all come out to bite people? The departing Flame Marquis felt like he was surrounded by 10,000 dogs. He had just returned to Imperial City, so of course he did not know that in the Imperial City's royal court, most of the scholars were following Chu Tian. Right and wrong, it is in the hearts of the people. Gu Qianqiu loudly said, Nangong Yun is not a direct descendant of the Burning Sun ruler, so the Burning Sun ruler deliberately pushed her away. Everyone knows about this biased heart. Could it be something we made up? Zhao Pu then added, "You've ruined Nangong Yun's life for 10 years. Do you want to ruin her for the rest of her life?" Chu Tian was secretly happy. Not bad, not bad. These old men had a bit of battle strength. It was not in vain for Chu Tian to use them. These scholars were famous for being mad dogs in Imperial City. Whether it was a direct argument or a quibble, they were all experts. The Nangong family knew how strong these mad dogs were, so they kept their mouths shut. Even if they were angry, they did not dare talk back. Talking too much was a mistake. The Meng Qingwu sisters were very surprised. The Nangong family was too useless. The most troublesome Chu Tian did not even open his mouth, and these old men had already beaten them to the point where they could not fight back. This kind of result was too boring. The Burning Sun ruler could not sit still as he said with a dark face, "Talent is not completely determined by one's source spirit and potential is not completely determined by one's talent. It is too obvious that you are changing the concept." The scholars wanted to fight back. Nangong Yun is a person of miracle commerce. No matter what the Burning Sun ruler says, we will not hand over Nangong Yun. A calm voice sounded out as Chu Tian walked out from the crowd. But if the Burning Sun ruler feels that the great scholar's words are biased, I have a way to solve this. This person was the famous Chu Tian. Chu Tian completely ignored the departing flame marquis's cold gaze and did not use sharp words to argue. It was useless no matter how good the argument was. The angrier the Nangong family was, the more trouble they would have in the future. Only by attacking the Nangong family from their roots could they achieve their best goal. So, Chu Tian looked over at Nangong Yun. I think that miracle commerce is more suitable for my growth, and the ruler wishes for me to accept the family's training. It is hard to choose between the two, so let's use strength to speak. Nangong Yun slammed her hammer on the ground and pointed a finger at Nangong Jian. Do you dare accept my challenge? The burning sun ruler and the departing flame marquis were both stunned. Challenge? What was Nangong Yun thinking? Nangong Jian is one of the best descendants of the Nangong family and has received the best training from the Nangong family since he was young. As for me, I was not valued since I was young and was exiled to a small central state city 10 years ago. It was fortunate that I met Boss and Miracle Commerce that I was able to grow. Now, I want to use the results of Miracle Commerce's training in half a year to challenge the genius that my family has been training for over 10 years. If I win, it will prove my growth in Miracle Commerce and I will continue to stay in Miracle Commerce. The departing flame marquis asked in a deep voice, "What if I lose?" I will return all of my shares in Miracle Commerce and will no longer have anything to do with Miracle Commerce. Then I will return to the Nangong family and you can deal with me as you wish. The faces of the Nangong family sunk. The meaning behind this was that no matter who won or lost, they could forget about touching Miracle Commerce. When the Southern Summer King saw this, he immediately came forward to mediate. Today is a special day. Why is everyone fighting until their faces are red? How about you give this king some face and let this matter end here? The refined ruler opened his mouth to say, "Two juniors are fighting, but with us watching, there won't be any problems. What is there to worry about?" The Southern Summer King did not really want to stop them. He looked at the Burning Sun ruler beside him. The Burning Sun ruler said, "The Nangong family does not fear challenges." "Humph, a trivial cheap person wants to challenge me?" Before the departing flame marquis could speak, Nangong Jian came forward. "This battle is not only related to the Nangong family's dignity, it is also related to my personal dignity. I ask your majesty to give me a chance." Nangong Jian's eyes were filled with disdain. The two of them were around the same age. In Nangong Jian's eyes, Nangong Yun was just a lowly servant who often bullied and insulted her when they were young. Later, when Nangong Yun was tested to have a super strong talent, instantly overshadowing the other geniuses, Nangong Jian went crazy with jealousy. A lowly fellow from a branch family, how could he have such a strong bloodline? This was simply an unacceptable matter. The lucky thing was that Nangong Yun had followed her father and was sent to a small city. 10 years had passed and Nangong Jian was now a 7th awakened soul layer true soul expert. He was not inferior to Dongfang Haoren or Wang Tianlong, but the only thing he lacked was time. Nangong Jian was not even 20 years old. Dongfang Haoren was already 27 years old. Wang Tianlong was already 31 years old. Therefore, if Nangong Jian was given enough time, he was confident he could catch up to the so-called imperial city's two prides. In Nangong Jian's eyes, Dongfang Haoren and Wang Tianlong were qualified to be his opponents. As for this Nangong Yun, she was only fit to be stepped on. But speaking of this, in these 10 years, this ugly duckling of the past had turned into a beauty that could cause the downfall of a country. If he crippled Nangong Yun and turned her into his exclusive property, pressing her hot body under him every night, that would be a pretty good feeling. She couldn't have already slept with Chu Tian, right? It didn't matter, this girl's bloodline was not bad. Even if she was used as a reproductive tool, as long as she gave birth to a few good descendants, it would be enough to consolidate her position. When Nangong Yun felt Nangong Jian's gaze filled with obscenity, how could she not guess his intentions? The anger in her heart exploded. She had been bullied by this fellow for 10 years and now that 10 years had passed, she could finally personally take revenge. With the burning sun ruler and the departing flame marquis cultivation, they could see through this with a single glance. Nangong Yun was not weak, she was already in the 6th awakened soul layer. This person had a fire phoenix source spirit, so under normal circumstances, she could jump levels to fight. However, Nangong Jian was in the 7th awakened soul layer, and it was not just a single level, it was the difference between the mid and late awakened soul layers. Was this gap that easy to cross? Not to mention, Nangong Yun only cultivated her family's cultivation technique, so she could not learn any core martial arts. Nangong Jian was a direct descendant, so naturally he would be heavily cultivated. Large amounts of materials were enough to create a high-level cultivation technique, so it was impossible for him to lose. So, the two of them agreed to this fight. The departing flame marquis softly said, "Don't waste time. I'll give you 5 moves to finish this fight." Nangong Jian cupped his fists to his father. "Understood." In front of the Southern Summer King, the 3 rulers, and countless people, this was a good chance to show off. If he could show off his strength, perhaps the Imperial City's twin prides would become the Imperial City's 3 prides. Did you hear that? Someone said he would defeat you in 5 moves. Chu Tian said to Nangong Yun, "So, you have to be quick with your movements. Relax." Nangong Yun gave a laugh. "For this kind of trash, I only need 1 move." Chapter 306. What? 1 move? You're teasing me. Chu Tian did not know how strong Nangong Jian was, but he knew that he would not be weak. If Chu Tian did not use the Flame Demon transformation, he would not necessarily be able to defeat him. Even if he used the Flame Demon transformation, he would not be able to finish the battle in 2-3 moves. Nangong Yun was good, boasting that she would only use 1 move? When did this little girl become more arrogant than father? This was clearly heard by the other side, as everyone had strange expressions on their faces, especially the Nangong family. They did not feel anger, but rather a joke. Was Nangong Yun overconfident, or had she not seen the world, not knowing how strong a true genius was? Nangong Jian's talent was not inferior to Chu Xinghe's. Although he did not have an ancient sword cultivation inheritance like Chu Xinghe, the Nangong family's inheritance was not inferior to an ancient cultivator's. After all, the Nangong family was an ancient cultivator family. Although they had gone through several generations, they still had many treasures left behind. Nangong Yun's Burning the Heaven art was a cultivation technique that every member of the Nangong family had to practice, but for a family like the Nangong family, the truly powerful cultivation techniques were the secret techniques that they would not easily pass to other family members. Nangong Jian was different from Nangong Yun, who was exiled at the age of 9. The ancient inheritance of the Nangong family was something that he could not touch. In terms of strength, he would not lose to Dongfang Haoren. Less nonsense. The departing flame marquis coldly said, "Do it?" Nangong Jian gave a few laughs with a gloomy face. His red hair suddenly floated into the air, and a terrifying heat was released into the sky, finally forming an incomparably large flame giant. This was Nangong Jian's source spirit. Great heaven burning palm. That incomparably large palm came crashing down. Nangong Yun's expression did not change as she gave a cold snort. Her body was suddenly filled with starlight, and she did not dodge it at all. Everyone turned pale with fright. Is she crazy? The moment the giant palm hit Nangong Yun, it was bounced back by a layer of starlight. The entire palm shattered into pieces and exploded into flames that fell from the sky like a rain of fire. The burning sun ruler and the departing flame marquis faces fell. To an individual, Nangong Jian's attack just now might not have been his full strength. It was probably because Nangong Jian did not plan to directly kill Nangong Yun. He still planned to keep this woman as a forbidden puppet, so he only had the thought of severely injuring or crippling her, and did not use his true killing move. Even so, the might of this palm was enough to reach the true soul realm. Nangong Yun had blocked the attack unscathed. That defensive cultivation technique could perfectly resist the attacks of cultivators of a higher level. It was definitely a super defensive cultivation technique. Among them, the 3 rulers and the Southern Summer King were especially shocked because the 3 of them could vaguely see that Nangong Yun's cultivation technique had not reached its peak. There was still room for improvement. Even if he already had such a defensive power at his current level, how terrifying would his defensive power be when he cultivated to the peak in the future? Nangong Yun laughed loudly and said, "Too weak." With just this bit of strength, he wanted to break through the starlight immortal body that boss taught him? Dream on. This defensive cultivation technique that made people drool, was it actually the starlight immortal body? There were quite a few people gathered information on miracle commerce. Chu Tian's starlight immortal body was not a secret, and almost every high-level member of miracle commerce practiced this cultivation technique. This cultivation technique was much stronger than they imagined. This cultivation technique could even become a sect or a family's inheritance technique. Nangong Jian flew into a rage out of shame. He wanted to be merciful and let her keep her beautiful and hot body so that he could enjoy it in the future. He never thought that this fellow would have some skills, actually blocking a true soul realm expert's attack. Since it's like this, then I'll let you see the Nangong family's true secret technique. Nangong Jia formed a seal with both of his hands. His thick origin energy burst out. It was as if he was standing on a volcano that was spewing out hot air. He soared into the sky while a large number of profound symbols moved around him like a torrential lava river that contained destructive power. The Nangong family's heaven-burning divine flame curse? The Southern Summer King's expression slightly changed. This was a secret technique of the Nangong family, and even in the Nangong family's direct bloodline, only a few people had the qualifications to learn it. This move was very strong, and when used with the heaven-burning art, it was enough to jump levels to kill a strong opponent. This move was very difficult to practice. The first requirement was to reach the perfection realm of the heaven-burning art. The Southern Summer family's inherited heaven-burning art was even more complicated than the Dongfang family's Grand Spirit secret art, or the Shengguan family's life and death judgment. The number of people in the family that could reach the perfection realm could be counted on one's fingers. They never thought that the 20-year-old Nangong Jian would be able to do it. 9 Heavens divine flame, listen to my command, burn the heavens. The runes that were floating around Nangong Jian like a river all gathered in the palm of his right hand, finally compressing into a dazzling energy ball that was as bright as the sun. Meng Qingwu was very worried. "Chen Bingyu, if there is an accident, you have to make a move." Chen Bingyu nodded with a serious expression. Large amounts of snowflakes had already condensed around her body. Chu Tian's expression did not change. His jet-black eyes stared at Nangong Yun with a trace of surprise in his eyes. Everyone else was flabbergasted. No one had thought that this matter would develop to such an extent. "Nangong Yun, I'll give you another chance." Nangong Jian held the fireball filled with energy and looked at Nangong Yun with a victorious expression. "Either you become my maid or you turn to ashes in the divine flame." Nangong Yun closed her eyes and a red light soared into the sky. The fire phoenix's cry filled the 9 heavens and a profound imprint appeared between Nangong Yun's eyebrows. There was no reply. But Nangong Yun's actions were the answer. Nangong Jian's face turned fierce as he roared, "Die!" That dazzling fireball turned into a beam of light. Even if steel touched this beam of light, it would instantly melt. This kind of energy charged at Nangong Yun with an unstoppable momentum. Nangong Yun suddenly opened her eyes, and like a fearless flaming bird, she unexpectedly rushed straight towards the beam of light. She's seeking death. Nangong Jian's strength is enough to kill an 8th awakened soul layer cultivator. When Nangong Yun touched the beam of light, the starlight was shattered and her body was covered in burns. No, this strength was too strong. The starlight immortal body could not block it. Chen Bingyu was about to make a move. But a hand reached out and stopped Chen Bingyu. Chu Tian's eyes released a strange glow. "No rush, there's a change." Chen Bingyu looked at Chu Tian in confusion. Could he not see that Nangong Yun could not block it? This strength was too strong for her. In this short instant, Nangong Yun's body was pierced by the flames. Everyone sighed. With this kind of terrifying injury, this girl was dead for sure. It was a pity she was a genius. "Turn to ashes." Nangong Jian wildly roared out. Who would have thought that at this moment, a resounding and resonant phoenix cry would come from the center of the pillar of fire. The originally perfectly straight pillar of fire suddenly exploded like fireworks. The flames quickly condensed into the shape of an incomparably large fire phoenix. The Southern Summer King and the three rulers were shocked. What is this? Nan Gong-yun stood in the center of the fire phoenix. Her body seemed like it had been burned, but there were golden flames coming from her body, making her look like an elemental life form. Those golden flames quickly solidified and turned back into delicate skin, not leaving a single scar. Even if she was bathed in a temperature that could melt steel, Nan Gong-yun was not injured at all. Rising from the ashes, the burning sun ruler's voice was a bit trembling. No. Undying bird. The Nangong family members all had the urge to kneel down in worship. Undying bird. This was the legendary Undying bird? Nan Gong-yun seemed to be completely immune to fire. Not only were the flames that bombarded Nan Gong-yun unable to cause any harm to Nan Gong-yun, they were all devoured by Nan Gong-yun and transformed into her own strength. Nan Gong-jian was completely stunned. When had he ever seen this kind of cultivation technique before? It's my turn. Falling phoenix strike. That giant fire phoenix flew out from Nan Gong-yun's body and quickly fell at Nan Gong-jian. This is bad. The Nangong family members were shocked. Nan Gong-yun's attack did not just contain all her strength, it also contained all the strength Nan Gong-jian had released. Not to mention an 8th awakened soul layer cultivator, even a 9th awakened soul layer cultivator would not be able to block it. Fast. Too fast. The divine phoenix spread its wings and instantly arrived. The departing flame marquis did not even have time to save his son. When Nan Gong-jian was about to be burned to ashes, a tall figure suddenly appeared in front of him. The burning sun ruler's thick right arm grabbed the fire phoenix's neck. This powerful fire phoenix was casually grabbed by the burning sun ruler and it could not move at all. The moment the fire phoenix was crushed by this irresistible strength, it gave a very angry roar and spat out a divine flame. It passed by the burning sun ruler and landed on Nan Gong-jian's body. A pitiful cry rang out. Nan Gong-jian was burned to ashes and he fell from the sky like a burning crow. The departing flame marquis flew into the air. Using Nan Gong-jian, he took out a bottle of precious medicine and poured it into his mouth. When he carefully checked his meridians, the departing flame marquis felt his body turn cold. Nan Gong-jian's body had almost been destroyed. Such a fierce fellow, I'll kill you. The departing flame marquis was about to make a move in his rage, but two figures came out at the same time and blocked the departing flame marquis. They were Gu Qianqiu and Qin Bingyu. Even if the departing flame marquis had a shocking cultivation base, facing two peak 9th awakened soul layer experts at the same time, he had no way of passing. At this time, the calm martial ruler could not sit still. With a gentle flick of his finger, a giant scarlet sword fell down from the clouds. It suddenly appeared between the two sides, stopping them from fighting any further. Admit defeat. The calm martial ruler coldly said, using the strong to suppress the weak is not the style of a military marquis. Everyone was shocked by the giant scarlet sword descending from the sky. This sword appeared in the air, but it made it hard for the great scholar, Qin Bingyu, and the departing flame marquis to move, as if they had been grabbed by an invisible hand. Too strong. The calm martial ruler's strength was unfathomable. Burning sun ruler, do you also want to take revenge for your grandson? The burning sun ruler's eyes were very complicated, just like a defeated lion. He looked at Nan Gong-yun. Can you tell me what secret technique did you just use? Chu Tian gave her a slight nod. This is not a secret technique, but rather a cultivation technique. Nan Gong-yun loudly said, this is the super cultivation technique boss gave me, the great nirvana scripture. I've only just started learning it. Chapter 307. The Nangong family members were instantly petrified, as if they could not accept this kind of blow. As for the Southern Summer King, the calm martial ruler, the refined ruler, and the others, their expressions all changed. They knew what this meant. This was a cultivation technique, not a secret technique. The two were completely different concepts. Secret techniques were based on a cultivation technique and could be used as a move. Because of this, Those that did not have a high growth rate would not change as their cultivation base and cultivation technique increased. Once they reached a certain level of cultivation, the good secret technique would become useless. Cultivation techniques were completely different. The main cultivation technique was a cultivator's foundation. A strong cultivation technique meant a strong cultivation, and a strong cultivation meant a strong cultivation technique. Increasing one's cultivation technique could increase one's cultivation base, but at the same time, a bottleneck in a cultivation technique could also increase one's cultivation base. A good cultivation technique had a deep influence on a cultivator's growth. The higher the cultivation technique, the higher the growth rate. So, to a cultivator, choosing a cultivation technique was very important. A cultivation technique could accompany a cultivator for the rest of their life, becoming stronger with their cultivation base and not becoming more and more useless. Nangong Yun's trivial 6th awakened soul layer cultivation could already display this kind of destructive might. Then in the 9th awakened soul layer or the true spirit realm, what kind of realm would she reach? What made people feel even more suffocated was that Nangong Yun claimed that this cultivation technique was only at the entry level. Just the entry-level Great Nirvana scripture had already surpassed the peak realm of the Nangong family's ancestral cultivation technique burning the heavens art. Was this really a human cultivation technique? It was simply comparable to a demon god. This Great Nirvana scripture could be considered a peak-level cultivation technique even in the strongest empires on the continent. It was not inferior to the imperial family's secret techniques. Actually, Chu Tian was also very surprised. This Great Nirvana scripture was one of the few high-level cultivation techniques he had brought from the future. Although it was a bit inferior to Chu Tian's Demon God 9 transformations, it was still a peerless cultivation technique in this era. This cultivation technique was very hard to cultivate and it was not something that could be cultivated in a day. Chu Tian had already taught this cultivation technique to Nangong Yun, but he did not expect her to learn it immediately. According to Chu Tian's estimation, if Nangong Yun wanted to cultivate it, she would need to reach the true spirit realm. Moreover, the amount of materials needed to cultivate it was very terrifying. Even if the entire miracle commerce was emptied, it would not be enough. Not long ago when Dongfang Haoren challenged her, Nangong Yun had not completely grasped it. In just a few days, she had actually comprehended it? This was too mysterious. Nangong Yun's trivial 6th awakened soul layer cultivation had touched the threshold without any external help. Although he hadn't even reached the small success stage, he could already display a portion of the Great Nirvana scripture's power. This was inconceivable to Chu Tian. Impossible. At most, it would have an amplification effect on ordinary fire attribute techniques. A god-level source spirit was only a basic requirement for its Great Nirvana scripture. Nangong Yun's fire phoenix source spirit was a god-level source spirit, but her source spirit strength was not high. It could only be considered a low-grade god-level source spirit. Even if he was perfectly compatible with the cultivation technique, logically speaking, he shouldn't have been able to master it so quickly. It seemed like there was a problem with Nangong Yun's family bloodline. This family claimed to be the descendants of the Phoenix clan. Could it be that there was a peerless almighty ancestor in their clan that allowed their descendants to possess this kind of potential? Nangong Yun's luck was good, and her potential was stimulated, so she was lucky enough to grasp a bit of the Great Nirvana scripture's true power. Nangong Yun's potential was even higher than he had imagined. No matter what the reason was, Nangong Yun had successfully entered the sect. This was a fact that could not be changed. Chu Tian was well aware of the power of the Great Nirvana scripture. After Nangong Yun trained in this cultivation technique, he would be able to restrain all the flames in the world. Now that Nangong Yun was in the awakened soul realm, she was almost immune to fire. The energy released by Nangong Jian was unable to harm Nangong Yun in the slightest. Instead, it increased Nangong Yun's strength. This was just the beginning. If he could cultivate the Great Nirvana scripture to the large success realm, then it could be said that Nangong Yun was immune to all flames. No matter how high the temperature, no matter how strong the strength, trying to kill Nangong Yun with flames was an impossible matter. If Nangong Yun really had a lucky chance, She could cultivate the great nirvana scripture to the peak. As long as she had a trace of strength, Nangong Yun would have an immortal body. This was the reason why Chu Tian valued Nangong Yun so much. When he decided to pass this cultivation technique to Nangong Yun, Chu Tian had already decided to focus on training this person. With the power of this cultivation technique, she would be able to stand at the peak of the continent in the future. Nangong Yun easily defeated Nangong Jian, so she was filled with confidence. Even the strongest person in our family's younger generation is only this strong. If the family can take out a cultivation technique that is stronger than the starlight immortal body and the great nirvana scripture, why else would they stop me from cultivating outside? The Nangong family were like deflated balloons. Dispirited, deeply dispirited. The ancient Nangong family had passed down their inheritance for countless years, but in the end, the cultivation technique they were so proud of was simply trash in front of them. The Burning Sun ruler's eyes completely changed as he asked with a serious expression, "Is this great nirvana scripture really just the beginning?" I advised the Burning Sun ruler not to think about this cultivation technique. Chu Tian walked in front of the Burning Sun ruler and said, "Of course I can give this cultivation technique to you, but if you want to cultivate the great nirvana scripture, the most basic requirement is to have a fire phoenix source spirit. In the entire Nangong family, only Nangong Yun has this kind of capital. What use is there in obtaining this cultivation technique? This kind of strong cultivation technique, if it falls into the hands of a small family, it will only bring disaster to you." What Chu Tian said was the truth. The Burning Sun ruler had already seen it. When Nangong Yun used the great nirvana scripture, the power of the cultivation technique would merge with the fire phoenix's power. It could be said that people without a god-level source spirit would not be able to cultivate it, and the fire phoenix was the best among god-level source spirits. Nangong Yun was simply a cultivator chosen by the heavens. It was no wonder that Chu Tian valued her so much. The Burning Sun ruler had to admit that with a single mistake in the past, the Nangong family had lost a peerless genius. Because of that one mistake in the past, this peerless genius had met a rare heaven and earth master. Under this heaven and earth master's transformation, her light would shine 10,000 times brighter in the future, leaving the so-called Burning Sun ruler far behind. One day, the Phoenix Undying family's ultimate power would awaken in her body. The departing Flame Marquis thoughts were completely different. He was filled with anger and resentment. "Ruler, the most outstanding member of our family's third generation has been destroyed. How could we just swallow this insult?" "Shut up. A loss is a loss. The Nangong family can afford to lose." The Burning Sun ruler angrily rebuked and then seemed to age a lot. After all, Nangong Jian was one of his most promising grandsons. He looked at Nangong Yun. "I hope you remember your words." Nangong Yun nodded. "I will forever be the Phoenix Undying's successor." When the departing Flame Marquis saw this, he understood the Burning Sun ruler's thoughts. Nangong Yun's future was not simple, and the Burning Sun ruler could not bear to kill this genius. "Humph, goodbye." The departing Flame Marquis angrily waved his sleeve and left with Nangong Jian. The refined ruler looked at the Burning Sun ruler's expression and gave a long sigh in his heart. Old man Nangong was really old. He looked at Chu Tian and his mind turned, feeling very confused. Just how many secrets was this person hiding? The Southern Summer King had a very serious expression. Although he had controlled the country for over 20 years, this kind of matter had never happened before. Chu Tian, Nangong Yun, and Miracle Commerce, there were too many things that he could not control. This made the Southern Summer King feel a bit uncomfortable. Nangong Yun's performance has made everyone look at her in a new light. The Southern Summer King did not show his worry. These complicated things could be thought through in private. He had to act normal right now. With such a genius, how could the kingdom not use her? Someone, make Nangong Yun an honorary knight of the Royal Knights. She will be rewarded with 10 soul weapons, 10 sacred pills, and 10 boxes of precious medicine. I hope that you will continue to work hard and add to the glory of Southern Xia. My king is wise. The crowd shouted one after another. It would be a waste not to take something that was given to him for free. Nangong Yun very straightforwardly thanked him. Meng Yingying took off her cloak and put it on Nangong Yun. After all, after the battle, Nangong Yun's top-quality soul weapon armor had been burnt. If this went on, her body would be exposed. Elder sister Nangong fought too beautifully. Meng Yingying looked at her with a face filled with worship. You are definitely stronger than that fellow Chu Tian right now. Chu Tian gave a cough. You little girl, do you know how to speak? Meng Yingying stuck out her tongue. That's right. The current Chu Tian did not have a high chance of winning against Nangong Yun. When this matter came to an end and everyone let out a sigh of relief, a sharp cry suddenly came from above their heads. A large group of flying demon beasts flew over at a low altitude and countless flower petals fell down. They're here? The Southern Summer King's eyes lit up and he immediately waved his hand. Prepare to welcome them. The guards of honor on both sides began to play music. A series of thumping sounds came from the front. Each beat was like a heavy hammer hitting the ground. They could clearly feel the powerful strength that made people's hearts tremble. In front of everyone's curious eyes, a large group of black figures appeared in front of them. This was a cavalry unit, but they were not riding normal horses, they were not even Azure Storm colts. They were massive magical beasts covered in pitch-black scales that looked like armor. Meng Yingying's little face was filled with shock. Aren't these earth dragons? There are so many earth dragons. Meng Qingwu also found this hard to believe. Earth dragons were level 2 demon beasts and were creatures with a dragon's bloodline. The purer the bloodline, the stronger they were. There were some earth dragons with noble bloodlines that could easily grow to level 3 demon beasts. These earth dragons' bloodlines were not high, but they were at least level 2 demon beasts, equivalent to human void soul realm cultivators. It would not be strange if there was only 1 or 2 of them. Now, the entire cavalry unit was riding earth dragons. This was an earth dragon cavalry unit that had never been heard of before. Even in the future, earth dragons were often trained to be demon beasts as mounts. They had high defense, strong innate bravery, and good endurance. They could listen to commands and were a rare mount for the battlefield. Whether it was in the field or in a siege, the Earth Dragon Cavalry was perfect. How could Southern Xia have such a strong Earth Dragon Cavalry unit? Southern Xia's Azure Storm Cavalry was far inferior, only the Griffin Knights could fight them. Only the Griffin Knights were not large and their numbers were not as large as this Earth Dragon Cavalry unit. The Griffin Knights were the Royal Palace's knights, responsible for protecting the Imperial City and the Royal Palace. Then what was going on with this unit? Chu Tian could feel the smell of blood from afar. Compared to the Griffin Knights, this Earth Dragon Cavalry unit had been on the front lines for a long time, fighting against the War Hounds. Battle Dragon Army. Battle Dragon Army. The crowd began to shout. 10 years ago, when the Blazing Flame Army was annihilated, it was the Battle Dragon Army that replaced the Blazing Flame Army, defending the front lines of the northern battlefield. Otherwise, the War Hounds' nomadic cavalry would have already come to the Imperial region to plunder. In the past 10 years, the Battle Dragon Army had repelled the War Hounds several times. Their merits were outstanding and their battle results were glorious, so they had a high reputation in southern Xia. An Earth Dragon that was different from the rest slowly walked out. The bloodline of the Earth Dragon could be distinguished by its appearance. The Earth Dragon with the lowest bloodline was the black-scaled Earth Dragon, followed by the red-scaled Earth Dragon, and finally the golden-scaled Earth Dragon. In this cavalry unit, almost all of them were black-scaled Earth Dragons. This kind of Earth Dragon beast had a limited room to grow. It was almost impossible for it to become a level 3 demon beast. Right now, the Earth Dragon in the lead had dark red scales mixed with light golden veins, making it look especially dignified and noble. This was an Earth Dragon with a very pure bloodline. If it was properly nurtured, it might become a level 3 magical beast in the future. A handsome youth was standing on the back of the Earth Dragon, holding a golden spear in his hand. His dark golden armor was glowing and his golden cloak was flying high in the air, just like a bright-colored flag. His feet gently stepped off and he flew off the Earth Dragon's back. Like a golden meteor, he instantly fell to the ground, raising a layer of dust. The Battle Dragon Army's young commander Wang Tianlong greets His Majesty. After the departing Flame Marquis returned with his army. Wang Tianlong also returned with his army? One wave had yet to subside, and another wave had arisen. Chapter 308. The young man's voice was resonant and vigorous. Although he wasn't old, he was extremely mature, and his entire body contained a fierce might. He was like a sharp sword that killed people like scything flax, and could be unsheathed at any time. He was also like an incomparably sturdy golden bell, and his entire body was impeccable, causing others to be unable to find any flaws. Behind the Battle Dragon Army's young commander Wang Tianlong, there were 4-5 9th Awakened Soul Layer vice-generals, including Wang Tu, who had been messed around with by Chu Tian. Enemies are bound to meet. This made Chu Tian and the others very depressed. Our main character is finally here, ha! The Southern Summer King threw everything to the back of his head and gave a clear laugh. General, please rise. It's been hard on you. Everyone muttered in their hearts. Could it be that they had made such a scene just for this Wang Tianlong? Wang Tianlong modestly cupped his hands in obeisance. This lowly general has neither merit nor virtue. I dare not accept such a big gesture. Chu Tian thought to himself, what are you pretending for? Didn't you lead the Earth Dragon cavalry into the city in such a high-profile manner to let the whole city know that you're back? In the end, you're pretending to be modest. General has both integrity and talent, being a pillar of the Southern Summer Country. The Southern Summer King supported him with a smile. Attacking the war hounds in the north, intimidating the troops, your achievements cannot be erased. The most rare thing is that you are only 31 years old. Your future is boundless. Your future is boundless. Wang Tianlong was neither servile nor overbearing. Guarding Southern Summer is my responsibility. Merit must be rewarded. How could this king be a heartless person? The Southern Summer King asked. I've heard that General's cultivation has increased again. I, Wang Zepai's subordinate, was lucky enough to break through. Wang Tianlong's reply caused all the officials to be shocked. Broke through? Wang Tianlong had always been in the 9th Awakened Soul Layer, which meant that he had reached the peak 9th Awakened Soul Layer. Southern Xia had gained another expert. This was indeed a joyous occasion. Wang Tianlong was well versed in both the pen and the sword. He could become a pillar of the imperial court or ensure the peace of an area. He could also serve as a general and gallop on the battlefield to cut down enemies and break formations. Alright, good, alright. The Southern Summer King called out 3 times. The general has not let down this king's expectations. The refined ruler has read this king's royal proclamation. Understood. The refined ruler took the royal proclamation from the hands of the 2 ceremonial officials, walked to the high platform, and raised the shining royal proclamation high up. When everyone saw this scene, they couldn't help but widen their eyes. One of the 3 rulers, the refined ruler, was personally reading the royal proclamation. This was a bit too much. The Battle Dragon Army's young commander Wang Tianlong, taking command at a young age, fighting against the war hounds for 10 years, fighting over 90 large and small battles, killing over 800,000 war hounds, establishing an indelible military merit for Southern Xia and becoming a role model for the younger generation of Southern Xia. This king announces that Wang Tianlong will be granted a 2nd-grade military marquis title, with the title of Heroic Martial Marquis. In the Imperial Region, Song State, and War Hounds, there will be a total of 42 cities within 8,000 miles, with a total population of 30 million. They will all be under the direct control of the Heroic Martial Marquis. Boom! The ceremonial music rang out. Everyone cheered. There was indeed a reason for such a magnificent lineup. After so many years, Southern Xia finally had another marquis. The Heroic Martial Marquis, Wang Tianlong, was in his early 30s and was ranked among the Southern Summer Marquis. Reaching the peak of power was something rarely seen in the history of Southern Xia. But towards the Southern Summer King's decision, whether it was the ministers, the generals, or the normal citizens, no one objected to it. Wang Tianlong was a general with real power. He had been rushing to the battlefield since he was in his 20s, and he had made great contributions in the past 10 years. His own strength was enough to rank him as a marquis, and this time he was bestowed a marquis land. "Thank you, my king." Wang Tu and the other deputy generals already knew this result. When they saw that their young master was officially conferred the title of marquis, they excitedly knelt down and kowtowed. The Wang clan had been conferred marquis 3 times, walking on the path of glory once more. The heroic martial marquis was only 30 years old. In the next 70 years he would be able to lead the Wang clan to glory, becoming an illustrious existence second only to the 3 great clans of southern Xia. Wang Tunlong gave a slight bow to receive the royal proclamation before respectfully bowing to the 3 rulers and the southern Summer King. From the beginning to the end, there was not much change in his expression. He was calm and composed, like an old man who had seen through fame and fortune. The Southern Summer King announced the beginning of the title ceremony. Another marquis was added to the Southern Summer 8 marquises. Another of the Southern Summer 8 states had been added. The heroic martial marquis, Wang Tianlong, received his marquis seal in front of countless envious and praising gazes. This was the 9th marquis of the kingdom, directly becoming a second-grade military marquis. His status was even higher than Central States' Shinfengho and Qing States' Greenwood Marquis. The heroic martial marquis has been conferred, the entire nation will celebrate. I wish Southern Xia a long life. The royal palace banquet was to celebrate the heroic martial marquis conferment, with the heroic martial marquis being the main character. This young man had been conferred the title of marquis, full of vigor. With an army in his hands, he was full of vigor. What more could he ask for in life? Everyone congratulated the heroic martial marquis, and the ministers were even more courteous. Even the scholars on Chu Tian's side had to respect Wang Tianlong. These scholars, who looked like mad dogs, were actually only concerned about the matter and not the people. Wang Tianlong's contributions to Southern Xia were clear to all. He was able to guard the front lines at such a young age, with outstanding military merits, making people worship him. Now that he was a marquis, his status naturally rose. They understood. The calm martial ruler had said that the Wang family was Chu Tian's biggest problem. This fellow was simply invulnerable. He had an ancient royal family background, a cultivation talent comparable to Dongfang Haoren, and a military strategy comparable to the calm martial ruler. He had outstanding military merits, a great reputation, and now he had become the heroic martial marquis. This person had a very calm personality, not like Chu Xinghe who showed off his abilities. He was not like normal geniuses who were arrogant and despotic, so it was not easy to deal with him. Meng Yingying was very happy attending the royal banquet, but now she felt very uncomfortable. Meng Qingwu felt like she was sitting on pins and needles. Recently the Wang family had been cursed by the citizens, mainly because Wang Tianlong had not returned to Imperial City. Now the situation was completely different. Not only had Wang Tianlong returned, he had also been conferred the title of heroic martial marquis. The Wang family was filled with pride and all the negative influences disappeared with the conferment. In the near future, the heroic martial marquis Wang Tianlong would become the new favorite of Imperial City and Chu Tian's limelight would fall. Meng Qingwu knit her brows when she thought of this. She felt that everything had been planned. The Southern Summer King had purposely promoted the heroic martial marquis to suppress Chu Tian's arrogance and give Chu Tian a large amount of pressure. Chu Tian's miracle commerce was only a company. The heroic martial marquis battle dragon army was the pillar supporting Southern Xia. If the heroic martial marquis and Chu Tian fought, it was hard to say which side the citizens would stand on. Although Meng Qingwu suspected that the Southern Summer King was deliberately targeting Chu Tian, she had no reason to doubt him. Whether it was Wang Tianlong's strength, fame, contributions, or qualifications, he had been conferred the title of marquis, so there was nothing to criticize about it. The royal banquet was halfway through and the Southern Summer King raised his cup. The heroic martial marquis has just been conferred the title and the state has not yet been established. If you have any requests, just ask this king. As long as it can be satisfied, I will definitely satisfy you. This general is leading an army, so the state is useless and it is dispensable. Wang Tianlong gave a deep bow to the Southern Summer King, There are two small matters that I hope your majesty can help with. What is it? The first matter is that there have been rumors in Imperial City recently. The Wang family's several hundred-year reputation has been tarnished, so this general would like a chance to wash away this insult. The Southern Summer King's expression slightly changed. Heroic martial you are. The second matter is that this general has been away for many years, so I have no time to manage the family's internal affairs. Because of this disturbance, the elders of the family have discussed it and hope that this general will marry a wife. So, I hope your majesty will bestow this marriage and allow the Miracle Commerce chairman Meng Qingwu to marry this general. Meng Qingwu's fists suddenly clenched. She never thought that Wang Tianlong would make this kind of request to the Southern Summer King. Chu Tian pulled back the angry Meng Yingying. Eat your food. It's fine, I'll take care of it. Meng Yingying did not have any status. If she jumped out to speak, it would only attract trouble. The Southern Summer King would not agree to this kind of request, otherwise he would be completely offending Chu Tian. With Chu Tian's personality, it was even possible for him to leave Southern Xia. The calm martial ruler and the great scholar would not agree to this. The Southern Summer King revealed an awkward expression. This king can send a royal proclamation to the world to remove the Wang family's influence, but the second matter. The royal proclamation represents the king's words. How could it be casually sent out? Wang Tianlong said, "My clan has been humiliated, so my clan will take revenge." Wang Tu cupped his fists as he walked out and arrogantly said to Chu Tian, "Miracle Commerce has insulted me for a long time, causing the Wang family to suffer large losses. My request is not high. As long as you kneel down and apologize to me and accept the Wang family's marriage proposal, this matter will be over. I, Wang Tu, and the Wang family will guarantee that we will not pursue this matter." Once again, everyone's eyes fell onto the Miracle Commerce people. Chu Tian swirled the amber wine in his cup. "What if I don't agree?" Wang Tu said with a cold smile, "Don't agree? Then you'll take back your reputation as a martial artist." Chu Tian put down the wine cup. "What do you want to do?" Wang Tu looked at Chu Tian. "I want to challenge you." Everyone instantly went into an uproar. Gu Qianxiu angrily stood up. General Wang Tu is a respected ninth awakened soul layer cultivator, publicly challenging a junior. This is clearly bullying the weak. Is this the so-called martial artist style? You are not taking back your reputation, rather you are humiliating yourselves. No matter who wins or loses, you will be laughed at by the world in the end. The calm martial ruler also said, "Using strength to bully the weak, losing the style of a great general. Using strength to bully others, you have let down my king's grace." Wang Tu's face turned green and white. The calm martial ruler's attitude was very clear. If you did this, you would be going against your own status and not giving the Southern Summer King face. How could the calm martial ruler not give face? Whether it was the Battle Dragon Army, the Departing Flame Army, or the Storm Cavalry, they were all under the calm martial ruler's command. They were only responsible for their own battlefields, and the calm martial ruler was the highest military commander in Southern Xia. Wang Tu was not willing. But the enmity of his mount being killed and his reputation being tarnished, if he couldn't take it back, how could he let go of this hatred? If he didn't take this chance, with Chu Tian's growing status, it would be hard for him to get another chance in the future. Whether he could take back his reputation or not, it didn't matter now. As long as he took this chance to teach Chu Tian a lesson, or even personally cripple him, that was enough. Challenge Miracle Commerce? A mysterious black-robed woman stood up. She had a graceful figure with perfect and alluring curves. She was a mature woman with an excellent figure. From under the black veil, a cold voice came out, "Fine, I'll fight you." This was the first time everyone noticed the mysterious black-veiled woman. Chen Bingyu had always been low-key. Chen Bingyu had always been wearing a black veil, looking like she didn't eat the food of mortals, even at the banquet. Chen Bingyu had been sitting beside Chu Tian the entire time, not drinking a single drop of food or drinking a single drop of wine. She didn't even say half a word, she was simply like an ice sculpture. Now that Chen Bingyu had appeared, a cold aura suddenly filled the hall, making everyone's hearts filled with shock. Such a cold current. Such a strong aura. This person's cultivation was unfathomable. The Burning Sun ruler said in a shocked voice, "You're Qin Bingyu?" The Burning Sun ruler was not too clear on this woman's background. She seemed to be an outsider who had wandered into the southern summer imperial city. Because she had a shocking talent, she was recruited by the Nangong family a long time ago. She had always been a guest official with the Nangong family, finally being promoted to an official, having a status equal to a senior elder. Only the Nangong family all had fire-attributed source spirits, but Chen Bingyu's source spirit and cultivation technique were both ice-attributed. Chen Bingyu did not receive any cultivation technique pointers from the Nangong family. She only completed missions for the Nangong family to obtain cultivation resources, cultivating by herself from start to finish. Even like this, she had reached the true soul realm. Her cultivation talent was not inferior to the imperial city's two prides. When Chen Bingyu entered the true soul realm, she finally reached a bottleneck. In order to find a way to break through, she proposed leaving the Nangong family. The Burning Sun ruler felt that Chen Bingyu was a talent and had a lot of room for growth, so he agreed to Chen Bingyu's request. He never would have thought that after Chen Bingyu left Imperial City for so many years, when she returned, she would become a bodyguard by Chu Tian's side. From this aura, could she be in the peak ninth awakened soul layer? The Burning Sun ruler revealed a look of shock. Her growth speed was too fast. Chapter 309. There were two reasons why Chen Bingyu left the Nangong family. The first reason, which was also the main reason, was naturally for his own cultivation. The second reason, although it was a secondary reason, it was not a small one. That was because Chen Bingyu was a guest official of the Blazing Flame Marquis branch. When the Blazing Flame Marquis died in battle, Chen Bingyu had personally witnessed the Blazing Flame Marquis trusted aides being stripped of their family's core power and even being sent to different places. Even a talented person like Nangong Yun was not an exception. Chen Bingyu felt a chill in her heart, so she said goodbye to the Burning Sun ruler. The Burning Sun ruler was very clear on the family's situation. On one hand, he was thinking of Chen Bingyu, and on the other hand, he wanted to quickly settle the family's situation. So, he easily agreed to Chen Bingyu and did not give her any restrictions, allowing her to completely separate from the Nangong family. But towards the Burning Sun ruler, Chen Bingyu was still a bit grateful. If she had not been a guest official of the Nangong family and received the Burning Sun ruler's attention, Chen Bingyu would not have had enough resources to reach the true soul realm. She would not have had the chance to meet Chu Tian in Central State and follow by Chu Tian's side, becoming Chu Tian's right-hand man. Chen Bingyu simply cupped her hands to the Burning Sun ruler. Greetings to the Burning Sun ruler. The Burning Sun ruler knew that Chen Bingyu was by Chu Tian's side, but seeing it with his own eyes, he was still very shocked. This kind of cold and arrogant girl was actually accepted by Chu Tian as a guard. This Chu Tian was truly outstanding. Chen Bingyu's cold eyes stared at Wang Tu. Tell me, how do you want to fight? Wang Tu's expression turned even more constipated. Wang Tu had guessed that Miracle Commerce had a very strong expert, but he never would have thought that this person would be this strong. She was actually in the peak ninth awakened soul layer. The most terrifying thing was that this girl was still young, only a few years older than Wang Tianlong. She was also a genius that was not inferior to the imperial city's two prides. Why was she willing to be a bodyguard by Chu Tian's side? It was really puzzling. It was hard to stop riding a tiger at this time. If he still had the dual-winged poison dragon mount, he had confidence in fighting a peak ninth awakened soul layer expert. Now that his mount had been killed, his battle strength had been greatly reduced. He had no confidence in fighting Chen Bingyu. Chen Bingyu's cold eyes did not change, but it gave off an aggressive feeling, only daring to challenge people with lower cultivations and cowering in front of people with higher cultivations. Are the Southern Summer Generals as weak as you? When these words sounded, Wang family's people all stood up in anger. This was simply a public humiliation. Why does Sister Bing have to make things difficult for this fellow? The other party is challenging me, not Miracle Commerce, so there's no need for Sister Bing to make a move personally. Under the astonished gazes of the crowd, Chu Tian laughed and walked over, I can accept the challenge of the Wang family, but I have one request. Wang Tu was delighted. What do you want? The Wang family can challenge me. Chu Tian pointed at Wang Tuesday, but you are not qualified. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Wang Tu was still a Southern Summer general. How could he not have the qualifications? Chu Tian did not give them a chance to speak. I have never slandered you. I know what I have done clearly. I will accept the Wang family's challenge, but I will not accept the so-called reputation. As for a waste that doesn't dare admit what he did, why should I fight him? Then who do you want to fight? If you have the guts, fight me. Wang Tianlong and the other vice-generals all stood up. You are not qualified. Chu Tian's words shocked everyone to death. Then he pointed at Wang Tianlong, the heroic martial marquis. Do you dare fight me? Chen Bingyu was stunned. The Meng Qingwu sisters were stunned. The Southern Summer King, the three rulers, and everyone else were all stunned. Everyone suspected that there was a problem with their ears. Chu Tian had jumped over Wang Tu and avoided the other prizes to challenge the heroic martial marquis. Did he know how strong the heroic martial marquis was? The heroic martial marquis had just broken through to the peak 9th awakened soul layer not long ago, but his battle strength was not at the bottom of the Southern Summer Marquises. He could even be considered one of the best. Wang Tianlong was known as one of the two prides of Imperial City. He was a genius and had been on the battlefield for many years. When he was in the 9th awakened soul layer, he had fought with the Warhounds tribe's peak 9th awakened soul layer experts several times. This kind of incomparably strong person, with Chu Tian's trivial 6th awakened soul layer cultivation challenging him, wasn't this the same as sending himself to death? Wang Tu was also stunned. Could it be that Chu Tian knew that he would lose no matter who he fought, so he decided to challenge someone with a greater reputation so that he could lose with more dignity? If this was the case, why would he personally come out? Wouldn't it be better to let Chen Bingyu block this calamity? Wang Tianlong straightforwardly stood up. The Battle Dragon Army has never rejected a challenge. President Chu has taken the initiative to challenge me, so how could I not fight? If I win, you will satisfy the Wang family's request, including handing over Meng Qingwu. The heroic martial marquis agreed. Meng Qingwu's face sunk and she tightly clenched her fists, feeling very angry. Chu Tian laughed and said, "The young miss is not my personal property, not to mention that I will not use her as a gambling stake. If I lose, I will give you the shares of Miracle Commerce." Meng Qingwu's body slightly trembled. Chu Tian had close to 70% of Miracle Commerce's shares. He would rather hand over half of Miracle Commerce than call out Meng Qingwu. It had to be known that the current Miracle Commerce was not the same as before. Everyone's eyes turned red. Chu Tian was equivalent to giving the company to the Wang family. Chu Tian then added, "If I win, I want you to give up your heroic martial marquis title." Alright. Wang Tianlong agreed. "You two are pillars of the country. Why are you fighting over a small misunderstanding?" The calm martial ruler mediated. "This is a great celebration. This ruler does not want it to become a joke to the people of the country." Gu Qianqiu broke out in a cold sweat and said, "This old man also thinks the calm martial ruler's words are reasonable. Can this kind of gambling stake be casually placed? Even if you don't care, you still have to consider the impact." Calm martial ruler, great scholar, what are you worried about? The refined ruler gave a few soft laughs. Scholar Chu is fighting the strong as the weak, so he must be very confident. Why don't you open everyone's eyes? Even if you lose, you can leave behind a story of a brave warrior. This is an unprecedented gamble. This ruler thinks that as long as we don't harm each other's lives, this kind of competition is in line with the Southern Xia style. The Burning Sun ruler tightly knit his brows. He felt that this matter was wrong, but he didn't know who to help. Actually, the Burning Sun ruler had a bit of selfishness in his heart. If Chu Tian fell because of this, wouldn't Nangong Yun have to return to her family? The Nangong family had not recovered in the last 10 years, and the third generation's most outstanding Nangong Jian had a hard time recovering. If Nangong Yun was willing to return, she could revive her family. The Southern Summer King weighed the pros and cons. The refined ruler's words are reasonable. As long as we don't harm each other's lives, this bet can be reduced a bit, but there is no need to be so extreme. The Southern Summer King wanted to see a balance between the two sides. Letting Wang Tianlong rebalance Imperial City's situation would make Chu Tian restrain himself. Moreover, with Wang Tianlong suppressing miracle commerce, the royal family's requests for miracle commerce would be easier to negotiate. If Chu Tian was reckless and lost miracle commerce, the Wang family would not be able to eat it and they would not dare eat it alone. The Southern Summer King could take advantage of this. This was a large piece of fatty meat. A battle between Chu Tian and Wang Tianlong? It could only be treated as a joke. Even Central State's Shen Fengho was not a match for the heroic martial marquis. The heroic martial marquis was at least in the top 3 of the 9 marquises. The old royal family's strong bloodline and inheritance allowed Wang Tianlong to look down on geniuses of the same level. A trivial 6th awakened soul layer cultivator, no matter how monstrous or talented he was, he could not cross this gap. Although he did not know where Chu Tian's confidence came from. But there would not be any suspense in this battle. The reason why Nangong Yun was able to defeat Nangong Jian was largely due to her cultivation technique. This cultivation technique was able to nullify fire-attributed attacks, and it could even absorb the opponent's attacks for her own use. If her opponent was ice-attributed, it would be hard to say who would win. Chu Tian would definitely lose this battle. But whether it was Chu Tian or the heroic martial marquis, they were both very important people. The Southern Summer King allowed them to compete in secret, but he would not allow them to fight with their lives on the line. With the calm martial ruler here, there was no need to fear any accidents happening. The royal palace's arena. Wang Tianlong held a dark golden spear as he walked forward. This spear was not a normal weapon. Rather, it was a weapon passed down from the old royal family. It was called the Dragon Aura Spear. The materials for this spear were said to have been dug out from a giant dragon's cave. The giant dragon had lived in the cave for over 100 years and its dragon aura was constantly sprayed on the walls of the cave, melting the metal ores and refining it, finally forming the dragon aura iron. The dragon breath iron was a precious grade 3 half-saint material and was obtained by the royal family of the Grand Xia dynasty. The royal family of the Grand Xia dynasty sought out a famous foreign craftsman and finally succeeded in forging an extremely powerful half-spiritual soul tool, which was this dragon breath spear. This spear's might could not compare to a true soul-contracting weapon, but it was not something a normal soul-contracting weapon could compare to. It said that this spear contained the power of a dragon's aura. Each stab of the spear could easily destroy an awakened soul cultivator's protective spirit energy fire defensive cultivation technique. 3 years ago, Wang Tianlong had used his 9th awakened soul layer cultivation to kill a peak 9th awakened soul layer warhound's expert with a single stab. Other than his own strength that allowed him to jump levels, a large part of it was because of the might of this spear. What did Chu Tian count for? Under the dragon aura spear, there would be nothing left. Chu Tian's defeat was inevitable. The only suspense was whether the calm martial ruler would be able to save him in time. The calm martial ruler's strength was the strongest in the southern summer country, so killing Chu Tian under his eyes would be a very difficult matter. But the battlefield was constantly changing. Once he killed Chu Tian with a single stab, Wang Tianlong did not believe that the Southern Summer King would dismiss him because of this. Why isn't Chu Tian here yet? He issued the challenge himself. Would he be afraid at this crucial moment? While everyone was discussing this, Chu Tian was wearing a top-grade soul-contracting armor and holding the Netherworld sword as he walked forward. There was a white fox on his shoulder and 18 black-clothed people following behind him. Wang Tu angrily said, "What is the meaning of this? Could it be that you can borrow external strength in a duel?" Chu Tian looked at Wang Tu with disdain. "Dare I ask General Wang Tu, have you ever used a mount in a duel before?" As soon as Wang Tu heard the word mount, his eyes spat fire. "This general and my mount have been working together for more than 20 years. I've long since become one with my mount. My martial techniques and combat techniques are in perfect harmony. Soldiers and their mounts are a single entity, so why can't I bring it along?" Chu Tian rubbed the little fox's head and said, "This spirit beast has grown up with me and we have already established a spirit beast contract. We are already connected by flesh and blood, so we are a single entity. The little fox spat out a mouthful of spittle. A ghost is connected by flesh and blood. Chu Tian ignored the little fox's expression. Is it wrong for me to bring it to the battle? Since you have established a spirit beast contract, the spirit beast is a part of a cultivator's weapon and also a part of a cultivator's strength. Bringing a spirit beast to the battle is reasonable. The Southern Summer King sat on the platform and his eyes swept over the 18 black-clothed people behind Chu Tian. Only, letting these people participate in the battle is against the rules of the duel. My king, please take a look. Chu Tian picked up the bell and shook it. The 18 black-clothed people lifted their robes, and when everyone saw the true appearance of these black-clothed people, they were instantly stunned. How were these people? Each one of them had bulging muscles, like they were experts. Their skin was completely black, like they had keratinized shells. Their eyes were hollow and only had a weak blood-red glow. On each monster's body, there were large amounts of blood veins. These blood veins were very small and were like tattoos on their bodies. If one looked carefully with a magnifying glass, they would find that there was a kind of glowing blood flowing in the center of these blood veins. These are Yin Corpse guards refined by Xiao Xiao. They do not have their own thoughts and are completely controlled by me. Chu Tian shook the bell and used his spiritual energy to control the Yin Corpses. The Yin Corpses all took a step forward at the same time. Their movements were uniform without any differences, just like a precise machine. They are only tools. Chapter 310. Chu Tian wasn't a fool. Would he really go and humiliate himself? How could he fight a peak 9th awakened soul layer expert with his 6th awakened soul layer strength? Chu Tian did not borrow any external force, but he still had a way to win. That was to use his main source spirit regardless of the price. Ever since Chu Tian came to this world, he had faced many so-called experts without any fear. He could even be considered arrogant and despotic, but the biggest thing he relied on was his main source spirit. Regardless of the price, regardless of the backlash, regardless of the consequences. Chu Tian released his main source spirit and opened his 10th eye. He could even fight against the 3 rulers. The problem was that it was too dangerous for Chu Tian. He wouldn't do it unless it was a life-and-death situation. But other than this special strength, if a 6th awakened soul layer cultivator fought against a peak 9th awakened soul layer cultivator, their chances of winning would be very small or even impossible. So Chu Tian could only borrow other powers like the little fox or the divine blood Yin Corpses. So it's a Yin Corpse? What a strange refining method. These Yin Corpses are tools and weapons. Since it's like this, we'll allow them to be used in the arena. The Southern Summer King and the Wang family did not have any objections. First, these Yin Corpse puppets that did not have their own consciousness were used as support tools. It was like a mechanical master using mechanical beasts. It did not violate the rules of the arena. Secondly, to Wang Tianlong and the Wang family, the Yin Corpse's aura wasn't weak, but it wasn't strong enough to defeat Wang Tianlong, so the Wang family didn't care at all. No matter what tricks Chu Tian played, this absolute difference in strength was not something he could make up for. The calm martial ruler personally acted as the judge. Clang. The duel bell rang. Wang Tianlong stood motionless like a statue, looking at Chu Tian with a cold and indifferent gaze. President Chu dares to provoke me in public. His courage is commendable. But with your strength, even if you add the Yin Corpses, you still have no chance of winning. Chu Tian's expression was relaxed. If you know me well enough, then you'll understand that I'm best at creating miracles. The more impossible something is, the more possible it is in my hands. So, please feel free to make your move, heroic martial marquis. I'm really looking forward to it. Wang Tianlong smiled coldly. I think we should ask President Chu to make the first move, lest you lose on the spot before you even make a move. Chu Tian held the netherworld sword in his right hand and a flame appeared on the blade while his left hand shook the soul-absorbing bell. Then I won't be polite. Releasing his spiritual energy, the 18 divine blood Yin Corpses were like awakened statues, instantly forming an all-like formation. The Yin Corpses in the back sent their energy to the Yin Corpses in front, accumulating layer upon layer of energy. Then the last two Yin corpses poured their energy into the Yin corpse in the front. Boom! A wave of energy rippled through the ground. The originally sturdy stone floor of the dueling arena began to ripple like water. First, a wave of water-like energy surged out, pushing the earth and gravel in all directions. Insignificant skill. Wang Tianlong stood in the same spot without moving. He gently raised the dragon aura spear and gently slammed it into the ground. A hot dragon aura flame instantly covered the surroundings, burning away the energy coming at him. However, at this time, the 18 Yin corpses finished condensing their energy. The Yin corpse in the front turned blood red and an incomparably strong energy began to gather in its body. It was like a storm that could explode at any moment. The energy released by the 17 Yin corpses had all been poured into a single Yin corpse? How was this done? This did not make sense at all. Everyone's spirit energy was different. If a large amount of spirit energy was poured into another person's body, it would only harm that person. Moreover, even if the Yin corpses had the same energy. But with the energy of the 18 Yin corpses gathered, even a peak 9th awakened soul layer expert would explode, but this Yin corpse did not show any signs of exploding at all. Wang Tianlong's right hand reached out and slowly raised the dragon aura spear. He couldn't help being alert. That blood-red Yin corpse raised its palms and a storm of blood-red energy gathered, instantly forming a ball of energy. This ball of energy went from small to large, releasing a blood-red glow like a sun. Then it went from big to small and the entire compression process created a large pressure, causing the surrounding ground to cave in. Everyone was stunned. This ball of energy was not small. Not only did it contain a strong corpse poison, it also contained an unbelievable strength. It came from the Yin corpse's divine blood and was majestic and vast. It was something that had never been heard of before. The calm martial ruler was also very surprised when he felt the energy condensed by the Yin corpses. This energy is very special. It is something this ruler has never seen before. The refined ruler nodded. Chu Tian has quite a few secrets on him. The Southern Summer King tightly knit his brows. What was going on? The strength of the 18 Yin corpses was around the peak 7th awakened soul layer. Although they were not weak, with just this bit of strength, it was impossible for them to condense this kind of strong energy. Wang Tianlong could not sit still. This energy was very strong and it was still growing stronger. It had already reached the point where it could threaten Wang Tianlong. The dragon aura spear suddenly rose up. So, the moment it rose up from the ground, it was like a beam of light shooting into the sky, instantly piercing through the clouds. Wang Tianlong's feet stomped on the ground and he charged into the sky. He held the dragon aura spear in the air and from 100 meters in the air, he was like a meteor as he suddenly shot down with the spear. His source spirit was released. It was a coiling dragon spear. This dragon aura spear was supported by his source spirit and it seemed like it was alive. It was instantly covered in a layer of dark gold, as if it was no longer a dead object, but rather a flood dragon in Wang Tianlong's hand. The Yin corpses threw the highly compressed energy ball forward. Wang Tianlong's shocking attack directly stabbed into the blood-red energy ball. "Open for me!" A dragon's roar rang out. It was majestic, shocking, and filled everyone with amazement. The moment the dragon aura spear stabbed out, it released an incomparably hot red dragon's breath. Wherever the dragon's breath went, even the air was distorted from the heat. Even if it was steel that met this hot aura, it would still be instantly evaporated. This kind of strong aura was sucked into the invisible spear glow. It could be said that its strength had increased by several times, forming an incomparably large spiral. It attempted to use the most violent and direct method to tear apart the Yin corpse's energy and then kill Chu Tian. The red shockwave and the dragon's breath spear glow collided. Berserk energy rippled out, and the terrain of the arena instantly crumbled. It was like two giant ships colliding with each other at an incomparably fast speed, creating a loud explosion that made people's hairs stand on end. Wang Tianlong was confident that the dragon's breath could burn everything. No matter what kind of energy it was, it could easily swallow it and instantly dissolve it. But the reality was beyond his expectations. The energy released by these yin corpses was not just pure energy, it contained a very strange energy that even the dragon's breath could not burn. Wang Tianlong could not pierce through this energy and instantly felt a strong rebound. This is bad. Wang Tianlong flew into the air and prepared to retreat. The blood-red energy turned into a giant fist. He chased after Wang Tianlong with a force that could topple mountains and overturn seas. His fist smashed into Wang Tianlong's body, and the violent force directly crushed Wang Tianlong into the ground. The place where Wang Tianlong was hit sank at least 10 meters into the ground, and the surrounding area was a mess. Everyone cried out in shock. The heroic martial marquis had been smashed into the ground? The heroic martial marquis was in the peak 9th awakened soul layer. Chu Tian had used the combined attack of the yin corpses to make the heroic martial marquis suffer a large loss. It was no wonder that Chu Tian dared to challenge Wang Tianlong. The strength of these 18 yin corpses was stronger than he imagined. The ground on the other side shattered. Wang Tianlong broke through the ground. At this moment, Wang Tianlong was in a very sorry state. That high-grade armor of his was already broken and his eyes were filled with rage. He had been smashed into the ground at the start of the battle. This was simply a great insult to Wang Tianlong. Flood Dragon Strike. With a sweep of the Dragon Aura Spear, several streams of energy intertwined and shot at Chu Tian like several flood dragons. If this attack hit its mark, Chu Tian would probably be blasted to pieces on the spot. The 18 yin corpses raised their hands at the same time and a blood net-like energy barrier instantly appeared in front of them. The Dragon Aura Spear's power hit the energy barrier and was immediately bounced back by an unknown force. Wang Tianlong's speed reached its limit. He held the Dragon Aura Spear in the air and threw himself at the energy barrier, causing the entire energy barrier to shatter. Truly worthy of being the heroic martial marquis. This burst of strength was shocking. Die. After Wang Tianlong shattered the energy barrier, he stabbed his spear at Chu Tian. At this time, a yin corpse jumped up and used its body to block the attack. Wang Tianlong stabbed the yin corpse and the fierce strength crushed the yin corpse into the ground. Under this kind of attack, the yin corpses should have been crushed. Chu Tian's yin corpses were very strong, but the 18 yin corpses were a whole. If one of them was killed, their strength would be greatly reduced and it would be a large loss to miracle commerce. The yin corpses charged forward one by one. Wang Tianlong's spear was like a dragon, it was almost watertight, each strike sending a yin corpse flying. The Wang family was very excited seeing this. Chu Tian had killed Wang Tu's mount and Wang Tianlong had killed his 18 yin corpses. This could be considered paying back the debt. All the yin corpses in the way were sent flying. Yin corpses were yin corpses in the end. It was impossible for them to learn cultivation techniques, so their fighting style was very simple. How could they deal with a top-level expert like Wang Tianlong? Your yin corpses are only SOSO. When Wang Tianlong was prepared to stab the last one, the yin corpse suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood that fell onto Wang Tianlong's body. Although Wang Tianlong managed to send the yin corpse flying with his spear, he still felt a strong force fall onto his body, making him feel dizzy as he fell to the ground from the sky. This is large amounts of blood veins that were hard to see with the naked eye. They were as thin as hair, but there was a large amount of them, almost covering Wang Tianlong's entire body. It was this strength that was suppressing the strength in Wang Tianlong's body. Wang Tianlong wanted to take a step forward, but he was surprised to find that the ground was also covered in blood veins, forming a complex and profound array. The yin corpses that had been hit began to stand up one by one. Each yin corpse had a hole or depression, but with the effect of the divine blood, these injuries could be seen with the naked eye, finally appearing in front of him in perfect condition. These yin corpses were too sturdy. Normal 9th awakened soul layer cultivators would find it hard to resist the Dragon Aura Spear, but these yin corpses were pierced by the Dragon Aura Spear. Not only were they not torn apart, their bodies were completely intact. Even if they were damaged, they could automatically recover. Were these things immortal? This was the power of the divine blood. A spiritual god was an immortal existence. Even if their bodies were destroyed, they could still instantly recover. Although these Yin corpses had only been injected with a little divine blood, they still had a strong recovery ability. As long as they were not completely destroyed, they had a way to recover. The divine blood seal covered Wang Tianlong's body. It was enough to seal a part of Wang Tianlong's strength. Wang Tianlong gave an angry roar. When he was prepared to break the array, the 18 Yin corpses formed a formation and instantly surrounded Wang Tianlong. They used some kind of profound movement technique to move the array, making Wang Tianlong hallucinate. He almost had a feeling of not knowing where to start. Meng Qingwu and Meng Yingying revealed excited expressions when they saw this. The Yin corpses were beginning to form an array. These Yin corpses' individual strength couldn't withstand a single blow from Wang Tianlong, but once they formed an array to attack, the result would be completely different. Even if Wang Tianlong was strong, wanting to break this array would not be easy. Chapter 311. Wang Tianlong had suffered several large losses before he met Chu Tian. The 18 divine blood Yin corpses were too strong. Although they could not pose a threat individually, the 18 peak 7th awakened soul layer divine blood Yin corpses were enough to tie down a peak 9th awakened soul layer expert. The most troublesome part was that after being refined with the divine blood, the Yin corpse's physique was extremely tough. Although Wang Tianlong's wild attacks could cause damage, to an undead like the Yin corpses, a few holes weren't fatal at all. Their divine blood had an automatic regenerative effect, so it was very hard to kill them. Dang dang dang. Chu Tian shook the bell, constantly releasing his spiritual energy. A seal appeared between the eyebrows of the 18 Yin corpses and each Yin corpse released a red glow. There was a chain of energy connecting the Yin corpses, instantly forming a whole body. Blood World Contract. This was a special incantation technique that Chu Tian had developed after studying the ancient gods' memory fragments and according to the nature of the gods' blood. The 18 divine blood Yin corpses used the divine blood in their bodies to share the damage. In other words, even if they were hit by Wang Tianlong's full-strength attack, the other 17 Yin corpses would instantly transfer a part of their power, making the power that was enough to kill the Yin corpses no longer a threat. The divine blood Yin corpses had a strong physique that was hard to destroy. Now that the energy was scattered by the seal, it was even harder to destroy the Yin corpses. The dragon aura spear danced in the air, shooting out spear lights. Once the Yin corpses were hit, they would release a barrier made of threads of blood. Countless threads of blood spread in all directions, allowing the energy to spread to the other Yin corpses. The Yin corpses were not injured by the heroic Martial Marquis attack. Chu Tian said with a smile, "Strange, Sir Heroic Martial Marquis is becoming weaker and weaker. Could it be that he can't even beat a few trivial Yin corpses? If that's the case, then it's really disappointing." The divine blood Yin corpses' attacks would create a blood curse. The more blood curses Wang Tianlong received, the more his strength would be restricted and the lower his chances of winning would be. People could not help but be suspicious. Could Wang Tianlong really not fight against the Yin corpses controlled by Chu Tian? The Wang family members all had pale faces. The Southern Summer King also had an ugly expression as he tightly clenched his fists. Chu Tian had collected quite a bit of information, but he lacked enough understanding of the Yin corpses. From the current information, Chu Tian had publicly used the Yin corpses twice. The first time was to deal with Prince Tianlang in South Sky City, and the second time was to deal with the Shangguan family's envoy. The Yin corpses were clearly very weak at the beginning. In such a short time, how could his strength grow faster and faster than Chu Tian himself? It was too unbelievable. It was simply unimaginable. The divine blood Yin corpse had too many special abilities. It could suppress any expert in the peak 9th awakened soul layer. This was not the way to go on. Wang Tianlong shouted. The dragon aura spear turned into a ray of light as it shot at the Yin corpses. Suddenly it turned into a flood dragon, circling around the Yin corpses, avoiding them one by one. Then it plunged into the ground, only to see a mound in the arena, as if there was a dragon moving through the ground. Go around the Yin corpses to deal with Chu Tian? That was a good idea. Flame Demon Transformation. Chu Tian turned into a giant flame demon and his strength broke through the illustrious soul realm, directly reaching the true soul realm. A giant flaming sword slashed at the ground and the flood dragon came out of the ground, fiercely attacking it. His body trembled. A third of the flames on Chu Tian's body were blown away by the attack. That terrifying strength caused Chu Tian to stagger back 3-4 steps and the starlight protecting his body began to crack. So strong. A casual attack had this kind of might? Chu Tian did not doubt that even if he used the flame demon transformation, if he fought Wang Tianlong head-on, he would not be able to block 3 rounds. Of course, Chu Tian's own invention, the flame demon transformation, also shocked the audience. A trivial 6th awakened soul layer cultivator could use this move to block the attack of a peak 9th awakened soul layer cultivator. This was definitely something to be proud of. After the flood dragon's attack failed, it immediately wanted to turn back. Since you've delivered yourself to me, then I won't be polite. Chu Tian's sword cut down the dragon aura spear. Then he activated the flame demon transformation and grabbed the dragon aura spear, not letting it fly back. Chu Tian looked at the dragon aura spear and said with a laugh, "Good weapon." The dragon aura spear's quality was close to a soul-contracting soul weapon. The only thing it lacked was that this weapon did not have its own consciousness, but because of this weapon would not resist or choose its master. So it could be accepted by Chu Tian without any politeness. The heroic martial marquis had been disarmed. Everyone's eyes almost popped out. The heroic martial marquis thought he could kill Chu Tian with this attack, but he never thought that he would go for wool and come home shorn. After the heroic martial marquis lost the dragon aura spear, could he still block the attacks of the 18 corpses? Wang Tianlong was filled with rage, but he did not lose his mind. He quickly took out a scroll from his chest. "I'll let you see the Wang family's secret technique." Chu Tian's divine sense could feel that the scroll contained a bloodline and spatial energy, so it was not a normal item. He saw Wang Tianlong bite his finger and smear it on the scroll, activating it. The scroll opened in the air and was filled with talismans, activating it in a single breath. A black hole-like space appeared in the arena, and a large dark red figure leaped out from it. Its body that weighed more than 10 tons landed heavily on the ground, causing the entire arena to tremble. Then, its 4 limbs fiercely stomped on the ground, and it suddenly rushed towards Chu Tian's direction. Earth Dragon? Everyone was shocked to see this. It was unknown what secret technique Wang Tianlong had used to summon the Earth Dragon mount to his side. This Earth Dragon's body was dark red and the edges of its scales were dark gold. Its bloodline was very pure and its strength was close to the peak 9th awakened soul layer. A single Wang Tianlong was already hard to deal with. Now that he had summoned the Earth Dragon mount, how could Chu Tian defend himself? Under Chu Tian's control, a chain appeared in each of the divine blood corpses' hands. They shot out at the Earth Dragon, trying to lock it down. Wang Tianlong condensed his spirit energy into a long dragon spear that pierced through the divine blood chains. At the same time, he swept away the corpses blocking the way, clearing a path for the Earth Dragon. This fat and wild Earth Dragon was not something the corpses could block with their flesh. There were flames brewing in its mouth as it charged at Chu Tian, preparing to burn Chu Tian to ashes in a single breath. Almost instantly, a green beam of light shot out, blocking the Earth Dragon's flames. Then, a huge green figure appeared out of thin air and grabbed the Earth Dragon's body. The 2 behemoths rolled together. That green lizard-like magical beast raised its tail and heavily whipped the Earth Dragon's back. This was not inferior to being chopped by an axe. The Earth Dragon sank down by 3 inches and immediately shattered scales flew everywhere. Not to be outdone, the Earth Dragon counterattacked. Dragon Lizard Beast. Wang too recognized the demon beast that had appeared out of nowhere. Wasn't this the one from the Scarlet Swamp? It had clearly been killed already. Wang Tianlong used a secret technique to summon his mount. Chu Tian summoned the Dragon Lizard Beast. Now that the 2 super strong demon beasts were wildly fighting each other, neither side could gain the upper hand. The Earth Dragon was entangled by the Dragon Lizard Beast, so the 2 beasts would not be able to decide the victor for a while. The 18 divine blood-in corpses surrounded Wang Tianlong again. Chu Tian crossed his arms in front of his chest. Heroic martial marquis, I think you've exhausted all your tricks. You can't break my array, just admit defeat. This surprised Chu Tian. Wang Tianlong was not as angry as he imagined. His expression did not even change. He just coldly stared at Chu Tian. Do you really think you can restrain me with these corpses? Could it be that the heroic martial marquis still hasn't used his final move? I thought I wouldn't need to use this move to deal with you, but since your performance has surpassed my expectations, then I'll let you lose a bit more brilliantly. Oh, such big words. Chu Tian said this, but his heart was on guard. The great summer royal family's background was not this simple. If Wang Tianlong was really hiding something, then it would not be a small matter. Do you think your defense is very strong? Large amounts of spirit energy were released from Wang Tianlong's pores and 4-5 golden spirit energy flood dragons condensed around him. These flood dragons spun at a speed hard to see with the naked eye, almost forming a golden ball. I'll let you see what is called true defense today. This was Wang Tianlong's main cultivation technique. After fighting for so long, this was Wang Tianlong's first time using it. The refined ruler said with interest, the great summer royal family's dragon transformation body protecting technique can turn one's spirit energy into flood dragon energy. As long as one's spirit energy is not used up, one cannot be attacked by 100 soldiers and cannot be broken by 10,000 enemies. It could be called the great summer country's #1 defensive cultivation technique in the past. That's right. The burning sun ruler knit his brows. This is the great summer royal family's inherited cultivation technique. The reason Wang Tianlong was able to move through the Warhound Plains for 10 years was all because of this defensive and offensive cultivation technique. Chu Tian never thought this would happen. Wang Tianlong's cultivation technique focused on defense. Moreover, Wang Tianlong had clearly cultivated it to the perfection realm, so his defense could compare to the large success Starlight Immortal Body. In short, it was much stronger than the Diamond Body Starlight Immortal Body. But this cultivation technique was different from the Starlight Immortal Body. The Starlight Immortal Body released a layer of starlight, and when it received an attack, it would immediately counteract the damage. When the starlight was destroyed, the spirit energy in the body would automatically seep out and repair the damage. But if the consumption rate surpassed the repair rate, the Starlight Immortal Body could be broken. Wang Tianlong's cultivation technique released most of the spirit energy in his body in one breath, creating a layer of defense. This layer of defense was a one-time defense made of pure spirit energy, without any repair, but the effect was even more overbearing and the defense was very strong. When Wang Tianlong used this technique, those under the true spirit realm could not break it. This cultivation technique was not only strong in defense, it also had a strong attack power. Anything that came close would be torn apart by the flood dragon energy. Of course, every cultivation technique had a weakness. The weakness of this cultivation technique was that it consumed too much energy at one time. In terms of defense, this cultivation technique was not inferior to the Starlight Immortal Body. This kind of defense consumed too much energy, while the Starlight Immortal Body consumed less energy. Secondly, the Starlight Immortal Body was not just a defensive cultivation technique, it was also a body-nourishing cultivation technique. It could stabilize a cultivator's foundation and build their physique, which far surpassed the value of defense. It couldn't be said that this cultivation technique could compare to the Starlight Immortal Body just based on defense. Let me try. Chu Tian controlled 4-5 corpses to surround him. In the end, when the corpses came close, before they could even touch the flood dragon energy barrier, it was like they had been clawed by a flood dragon and were instantly sent flying several meters away. Such a fierce strength. Even if a 9th awakened soul layer cultivator was hit, they would still be heavily injured. The great summer royal family's inherited cultivation technique was truly an overbearing and powerful cultivation technique. Meng Yingying's heart palpitated a bit when she saw this. This cultivation technique seems to be even stronger than our Starlight Immortal Body. What should we do? If Chu Tian can't break this defense, won't he lose for sure? Meng Qingwu and Nangong Yun were also very anxious. The Yin corpses did not even have time to move before they were sent flying. The Yin corpse's large array was already paralyzed. A long dragon spear condensed in Wang Tianlong's hand, and he sent the last 3 Yin corpses flying, stabbing it at the exposed Chu Tian. This is bad. The little fox's dragon lizard beast was fighting with the earth dragon beast, and the Yin corpses had all been defeated. How could Chu Tian block this attack? The distance between the two sides was already less than 10 feet. The last Yin corpse blocked in front of him, but it was still easily sent flying. Wang Tianlong could close this distance in an instant, so there was no time for Chu Tian to react. The calm martial ruler prepared to make a move when he saw this. Winning or losing was not important, at least he had to ensure Chu Tian's safety. Who would have thought that at this moment? Chu Tian suddenly pulled out 2 strange-looking submachine guns. Have a taste of this. The sound of the bullets fired from the source energy submachine guns was different from normal. The sound was small and sharp, but it was a real bullet. A large amount of dark red needles flew out like a storm. Wang Tianlong felt that the speed and power of the needles were not high, so he gave a cold laugh. You want to injure me with such weak attacks? He didn't even finish speaking. These small red needles passed through his defenses and landed on Wang Tianlong's body. Most of them were sent flying by his armor, but there were a few that hit the gaps in his armor, his neck, his face, etc., instantly turning Wang Tianlong into a porcupine. Ah! Wang Tianlong gave a pitiful cry as he took a few steps back. His cultivation technique instantly collapsed and a wave of numbness spread through his body, almost making him lose consciousness. Chu Tian raised his sword and stomped his feet into the air, sending out a burning rage. That bright sword glow sent Wang Tianlong into the air, and the sword glow tore through his armor. Before it could fall, the 18 Yin corpses surrounded him. How could Wang Tianlong have time to block? Several dozen attacks came one after the other. The 18 Yin corpses surrounded Wang Tianlong and stomped him into the ground. Wang Tianlong already did not have the strength to fight back. There was no longer any suspense when the battle reached this point. Chu Tian sheathed his sword and his face was filled with disdain. With this kind of skill, you want to fight me? In your next life. Chapter 312. This gun's design was completely different from normal source energy submachine guns. It used a special magazine to shoot bullets, and the muzzle looked like it was sealed, but there were several small holes. Each hole could shoot blood-in steel needles at a very fast speed. These needles could ignore an awakened soul cultivator's protective spirit energy, so they could directly penetrate their defenses. Each needle had been personally processed by Chu Tian. Not only were these needles incomparably sharp, they had also been refined with the snake-scorpion beast king's poison, so they could instantly paralyze the enemy. Stop! The calm martial ruler raised his hand. A giant blood-red sword fell from the clouds and stabbed into the ground around Wang Tianlong. The surrounding Yin corpses seemed to be repelled by a force field, being blocked 10 meters away, not being able to take even half a step forward. The calm martial ruler grabbed the air and Wang Tianlong was sent in front of him. The outcome of this battle had been decided. There was no need to fight anymore. Chu Tian wins. Chu Tian gave a few loud laughs. Thanks for letting me win. Thanks for letting me win. The heroic martial marquis. Oh no, according to the agreement, you should be stripped of your title and I should be calling you Young Commander Wang. Many thanks for Young Commander Wang's mercy. Wang Tianlong almost fainted on the spot. Ha ha ha. Nangong Yun laughed as she shouted, your young commander personally agreed to this bet, with the 3 rulers and His Majesty as witnesses. The Wang family won't go back on their words, right? The faces of the Wang family members turned darker. The Marquis title and Marquis title happened on the same day. The heroic martial Marquis title had been taken away in less than half a day. This was enough to become a laughingstock in southern Xia. Regardless of whether it was to Wang Tianlong or to the Wang family, it was a great humiliation. Moreover, it was a humiliation that could never be washed away. The Southern Summer King's expression was not good. He had been bestowed the heroic martial Marquis title to suppress Chu Tian's arrogance, letting Chu Tian not be in the limelight anymore. But in the end, the heroic martial marquis had been taken down in less than a day. With Chu Tian stepping on the heroic martial marquis body, his reputation would go up another level. Who would be able to suppress his aura? But this person was unruly and could not be controlled by the Southern Summer King. If he grew up in the future, wouldn't he be an existence that could shake the royal power? The refined ruler could clearly guess the Southern Summer King's thoughts. The heroic martial marquis defeat was not because of his strength, but rather because he underestimated his opponent. Chu Tian's victory was not a victory of strength, but of external assistance. The heroic martial marquis had many military merits, and the Wang family was a famous family in the Southern Summer Country. Directly stripping him of his title, this ruler does not think it is appropriate. I suggest that we take back the conferment letter first and leave it for the heroic martial marquis to reflect on his actions. The conferment can only be done after a month. The refined lord's thoughts coincide with mine. The Southern Summer King said in a lecturing tone, General Wang should properly think about this. As a veteran general, how can you underestimate the enemy? Take this as a lesson to you. Wang Tianlong hurriedly knelt down and kowtowed. My king is right. The people around Chu Tian were dissatisfied. This fellow had clearly promised to become a marquis, so why was he going back on his word now? But regarding the Southern Summer King's idea, not only did the calm martial ruler and the burning sun ruler not object, even the great scholars silently agreed. The conferment of a marquis was not a small matter. How could it be reduced so quickly? Not only would this cause a stir in the court, the Wang family was very important in Imperial City. They were the descendants of the old royal family and had a very long history. They had many military merits in the last 10 years, so if they were to deny the Wang family's contributions just because of a single bet, wouldn't the Southern Summer King be a heartless person? It was impossible to reduce his marquis title, but he could at most postpone it. This could be considered giving an explanation to miracle commerce and giving face to Chu Tian. Today's battle has opened this king's eyes. Scholar Chu is truly a miraculous youth. 10 soul weapons, 10 sacred herbs, and 10,000 gold coins will be rewarded. Whether Chu Tian was satisfied with this result or not, the Southern Summer King had already made his decision and it was impossible to change it, so he had to accept it even if he didn't want to. The three rulers agreed with this decision. Now that things had reached this point, they could only do this. When the commotion caused by the duel had yet to dissipate, a sharp whistling sound came from the sky as a griffin rider quickly flew through the sky. A rider jumped off the back of the griffin and ran in front of the Southern Summer King with an anxious expression. He suddenly knelt down on one knee, reporting to my king, "This is an urgent military matter." The Southern Summer King immediately stood up. The griffin rider presented a booklet with both hands. The scouts from the front lines have reported that the war hounds seem to be gathering a large army and are moving towards the border of Tsang State. This is very suspicious. I ask the king to make a decision. The Southern Summer King hesitated for a bit. What do you think? The refined ruler knit his brows and said, from the warhounds' movements, it seems like they want to directly attack Tsang State City. We should strengthen Tsang State City's defenses. Otherwise, once Tsang State City falls, Imperial City will be isolated in the north and will be restricted everywhere. This ruler does not think so. Tsang State City is tall and deep, so if the warhounds are not united, they will not be able to capture Tsang State City. From the current traces, this is a large group of light cavalry. Although the scale is larger than the previous invasions, it doesn't seem like they are going to attack a stronghold. The calm martial ruler was silent for a while. This ruler suspects that Tsang State City is a cover and their true target is the Tsang State Farms. With these words, their bodies trembled. The Tsang State Farms were very important to Southern Xia. The mounts of Southern Xia's several 100,000 cavalry were all produced in Tsang State. If the farms were attacked by the warhounds, then Southern Xia's production of mounts would plummet. The cavalry would decrease and they would not be able to compete with the warhounds in the prairies. This method of removing firewood from under the cauldron was extremely ruthless. The Southern Summer King revealed a trace of anger. The frontline troops have just been reduced and the warhounds are already impatient to make a move? They are truly in a rush. This matter is not simple. The calm martial ruler revealed a trace of worry. The warhounds' planes has not launched a strategic attack on southern summer in many years. The so-called strategic military strike referred to a premeditated and planned invasion. In the last several years, the warhounds had charged in many times, but they had only taken one and left. The meaning of this invasion was completely different from the past. Whether it was the warhounds attacking the horse farms or Tsang State City, their goal was to cut off one of southern Xia's important supply points. The imperial region was the heart of southern Xia, so it was very hard to attack. With the three rulers and the southern summer king guarding it, whether it was cavalry or infantry, they made up a third of the country. There were several famous elite armies in the imperial region and 80% of southern Xia's fighting strength was gathered in the imperial region. This was the result of the kingdom's several decades of recovery. Attacking the imperial region was impossible. They could only attack the neighboring Tsang state. In comparison, the warhounds tribe's last generation Fang king had fallen and they had been in internal strife for the last few decades. The various tribes were fighting against each other, so their overall strength could not compare to the warhounds' kingdom. Not to mention the scattered warhounds, even if they were united, the warhounds' planes' combined strength would not be able to break through Imperial City in a year and a half. The best method was to use a long-term strategy. Encroaching on Tsang State and isolating the Imperial region, then they would begin a long-term battle plan. So attacking Tsang State was the first step of the strategy. Of course, the Southern Summer King and the three rulers were not worried. This was actually very hard to accomplish. Although Southern Xia suffered many internal disasters, the country was still relatively stable. The warhounds tribe had a low social structure, so it was destined to be a long-term chaotic country. Even if they occasionally united, it would only be a flash in the pan. This long-term strategy was not suitable for a country with a chaotic political situation. Even if the warhounds' cavalry succeeded, they would only be able to temporarily cut off southern Xia's strength and stop southern Xia from advancing north. They would not be able to deal a fundamental blow to southern Xia, not to mention a crisis of exterminating the country. This is good. The Southern Summer King quickly considered the situation and immediately patted the railing in front of him. This king has called back many generals to plan an attack on the warhounds. The warhounds are nomadic tribes, and although we have the refined ruler's information, it is not easy to find them in the vast prairies. This time they have taken the initiative to send a large amount of cavalry to our territory. This king will gladly accept this large piece of meat. Your Majesty! When Wang Tianlong heard this, he immediately knelt down on one knee. The battle dragon army requests to go out to battle. General is currently injured, so you should properly recuperate first. Not to mention that the ones being transferred back are the elites of the battle dragon army. The main force of the army is on the front lines and cannot be moved for now. You won't have any soldiers to send to Tsang State. Wang Tianlong said, why does this general need to be restricted in leading troops? With the normal main force working with the battle dragon army's elites, I think it will be enough to destroy the warhounds' cavalry. As for this general's injuries, they are not worth mentioning. Haha. General is eager to gain merit. This king can understand. The Southern Summer Army's northern expedition is imminent. There will be many chances to gain merit in the future. The Southern Summer King still did not agree with Wang Tianlong going out to battle. This battle must be fought beautifully and raise the prestige of our Southern Summer country. Only then can we begin the northern expedition. So, for this battle, to be safe, it is best to have the calm martial ruler personally lead the army. Wang Tianlong was not convinced at all. Once the Southern Summer King said that the calm martial ruler would personally lead the army, he had nothing to say. In the entire Southern Summer, who had more authority than the calm martial ruler? Not to mention that the calm martial ruler was a true spirit expert with a high cultivation base that surpassed the Southern Summer country. There was no one that could match him. If he personally led the army, he would not even need to fight, and just his reputation would be enough to scare the warhounds mobs to the point of pissing their pants. The three rulers will follow this king back to the palace and will come up with a proper strategy. The Southern Summer King said to the others, "You can all disperse." The Southern Summer King and the three rulers left. Chu Tian led his people back to the company. On the way back, everyone was depressed and he felt very puzzled, so he asked, "What are you all worried about?" "That fellow has already been taught a lesson, so forget about the Marquis." The Southern Summer King is ambitious and is wholeheartedly preparing for the northern expedition. Even if he is stupid, he wouldn't offend a general at this time. "We aren't thinking about this." Meng Yingying looked up at Chu Tian with a pair of bright eyes. "Southern Xia is about to fight." "So what?" Nan Gongyun cut in and said, "Aren't you worried at all? The opponent is the Warhounds tribe. They have been suppressing Southern Xia for several hundred years. War, it was always a heavy topic. Unless one was an ambitious person, there were not many people who liked to fight. Not to mention the fact that the opponent was this strong. The Warhounds tribe had always been the nemesis of the Southern Summer Country." Chu Tian scratched his head. Actually, he had only been in Imperial City for a few days, so he was not familiar with the streets. He did not know how many cities there were in the Imperial region, and he did not know anything about the world to the north of the Imperial region. How many tribes did the Warhounds tribe have? Their population, strength, weapons, and level of civilization were all unclear, so Chu Tian did not know if starting a war was a good or bad thing. "You're all worrying too much." Chu Tian comforted everyone. The Southern Summer King and the three rulers are not normal people. They have studied the Warhounds plains very thoroughly. Since the four of them have no objections this time, it means we can fight this war. Southern Xia had been recuperating for several decades and now had enough military strength. The most important thing was that Southern Xia was different from anything else. Now that Southern Xia had established a source energy weapon factory, they would be able to use weapons that surpassed the current era. Once these weapons were used in the army, not to mention the Warhounds already collapsing, even the Warhounds at their peak would not be able to resist. Technology was enough to make up for the difference in strength. Meng Qingwu gave a slight nod. War is a disaster and also an opportunity. At least the Southern Summer King has use for us, so he won't do anything to us. We can use this time to properly develop. Meng Yingying suddenly said to Chu Tian, "Speaking of this, Chu Tian, you won't be fighting, right? Why are you asking this?" Chu Tian was very puzzled. "I don't understand the art of war and I don't understand the weapons of this era. I don't even know the structure of the Southern Xia army. Do you think you can lead an army as a single person? Although I am a peerless genius, you can't expect me to know everything. If you don't know how to fight, then just say it. Why are you finding excuses?" Meng Yingying let out a sigh of relief. "Then I can be assured." What was this girl's brain thinking? She was looking down on me. Chapter 313. The news of the Warhounds tribe's large-scale invasion was further confirmed, and the scale far surpassed people's expectations. There were around 400,000 Warhounds cavalry gathered on the prairies, flooding Tsang's state like a flood. Now, he was basically certain. The Warhounds were prepared to attack the Tsang state plains. 400,000 Warhounds cavalry, this was a terrifying number. The Warhounds plains were very vast and the spirit beasts were very strong, but the Warhounds did not have a lot of people, only around a third of Southern Xia. There were three main reasons for this. First, their technological production capacity was low, and they mainly relied on hunting for food. If a plague or disaster broke out, it would immediately cause a large number of people to die. Second, the living environment was very cruel. Each spirit beast had to endure a cruel life from birth, fighting each other for resources and challenging fierce demon beasts to hunt. Out of 10 Warhounds children, only one would live to grow up. Third, there were many internal conflicts. There were several hundred tribes in the Warhounds plains, with several dozen large tribes. The tribes often fought with each other, with the large tribes swallowing the small tribes. The small tribes fought for water and hunting grounds, while the large tribes fought for the title of Fang King. In short, there were all kinds of reasons to fight. The cruel struggle for survival reduced the Warhounds' population, but those that survived were all brave warriors. The normal southern summer troops were no different from chickens under the Warhounds' cavalry, only the most elite cavalry had the qualifications to fight against the Warhounds. An army of 400,000 was not a large number, but their combat strength was extremely terrifying. This time, the Warhounds' commander's mind was clear. At least he knew how to avoid the strong and attack the weak, so he did not choose to attack the Imperial Region's fortress and chose to attack Tsang State's fortress. Tsang State City could not block this kind of army, so the 400,000 Warhounds' cavalry killing their way into Tsang State was a matter that was set in stone. Even if the Imperial Region sent reinforcements, it was better than fighting the Imperial Region's elites in their own territory. The Southern Summer King did not hide any information from the citizens. When the Warhounds' army's size and movements were confirmed, they were immediately announced to the entire city. Royal City was shocked. 400,000 cavalry was a large lineup for the Warhounds. This was because the Warhounds were not good at growing and storing food. Adding in the several decades of war, it was hard for them to support a large army on a long expedition. 400,000 cavalry. How much would it take for a human to eat a horse? The Warhounds' planes did not have any food, so why would they send out an army of 400,000 to attack Southern Summer? It was hard to understand. They were about to starve to death. Did they think they could take down Southern Xia? The Imperial City people's mentality was quite high. Perhaps it was because they were used to seeing the Warhounds attack. Although there were a lot of them this time, they were only a bit surprised and were not too worried. With the three rulers, Imperial City was as stable as a rock and Tsang State was not weak. The Tsang State army was the head of the 8 states, and adding in the reinforcements sent by Imperial City, with a fierce pincer attack, no matter what the Warhounds' army's goal was, they would return without any results. Southern Xia had plenty of grain, Warhounds, hounds, the Plains' territory could. Southern of the war troops. Plains. The Southern Xia's kings. The Southern Kings. The first was the trump card army that had been withdrawn 2 days ago. They all returned to the frontline fortress and entered a battle state, preventing the Warhounds from attacking the Imperial Region. The second was for the calm martial ruler to personally lead the army, leading 200,000 storm cavalry to intercept the Warhounds in Tsang State. They would cooperate with Tsang State's 200,000 elites to destroy the Warhounds. The third was for the entire country to prepare for war, buying large amounts of grain, metal, leather, as well as military equipment. They would hire large amounts of money to send troops from the south to the north. With the 3 royal proclamations, the confidence of the citizens increased. The Southern Summer King reacted very quickly and made preparations. The Warhounds would not be able to take advantage of this, so they were just waiting for the calm martial ruler to teach the Warhounds' cavalry a lesson. On the same day, the army set off. The million citizens of Imperial City sent them off. On the plains outside the city, there were countless cavalry ready to set off. Looking at the dense amount, it was enough to shock people's hearts. They wore the same green armor and led their green storm foals. It was as if they had become one with the grassland. They raised their sharp spears high up in the air and looked like dense weeds fighting to be the first to drill out of the ground. Their roars were like landslides and tsunamis. Victory! 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 The storm cavalry was the main force of cavalry in Southern Xia. There were storm cavalry stationed in each state, but there were less than 3,000 cavalry in each state. As for the battle strength of the storm cavalry, Chu Tian and the others had already seen it in Thunder State. There were over 100,000 storm cavalry now. If they charged forward, they would turn into a hurricane on the plains of Tsang State. Wherever they went, not a single piece of armor remained and all the strong enemies would be instantly destroyed. The Southern Summer King personally sent them off. This kind of scene had not appeared in Southern Xia for many years. The commander this time was the guardian god of the Southern Xia citizens, the head of the 3 rulers, the calm martial ruler. The calm martial ruler had always been invincible. In the several decades he had been guarding the Southern Summer Country, the Warhounds had never broken through the Imperial Region's borders. There was no one in the entire country more suited to lead this war than the calm martial ruler. Wang Tianlong and the departing Flame Marquis were all famous generals, but they were only good at setting up formations. For this kind of large-scale battle, they needed a veteran with more experience and strength to lead them. This is the Southern Summer Country's King's Sword. The Southern Summer King raised up a sword filled with a majestic aura. In Song State, the ruler has the same authority as the Southern Summer King with this sword. There is no need to report any arrangements, and anyone who dares not obey or delay, from the Tsang Yun Marquis to the soldiers, the ruler can kill them first and report later. The king's sword was not just a divine weapon, it also represented the supreme authority of the king. The Southern Summer King even gave the king's sword to the calm martial ruler. This was enough to show how important this battle was and how much trust he had in the calm martial ruler. "Thank you, my king." The calm martial ruler held the king's sword with both hands and stood there like a statue. "Calm martial ruler, you are the strongest person in Southern Xia and the most outstanding commander in Southern Xia. I believe that with you as the commander, a trivial mob of several 100,000 will not be a problem." The Southern Summer King's voice was filled with power, as if it was filled with confidence. "When you return in victory, we'll decide on a plan to pacify the Warhound's plains in one fell swoop and return our great Xia's magnificent mountains and rivers." These words made everyone's blood boil. The Southern Xia people always wanted to attack the Warhounds from afar, taking back half of the Great Summer Country and driving the damn Warhounds out of the plains. The Southern Summer King seemed to be planning on attacking the Warhounds, so how could they not be excited? The Southern Summer King personally lifted up a jar of wine. This king sends off the Southern Summer soldiers. The Burning Sun ruler and the Refined ruler raised their bowls of wine on both sides of the platform, paying their respects to the Southern Xia cavalry. The 200,000 soldiers were all filled with excitement as they drank the wine in one gulp. They threw it high up in the air and jumped onto their horses at the same time, creating a strong impact. "The Great Summer Country is invincible." The Southern Summer King shouted, "Make contributions and return in victory." The calm martial ruler rode a golden griffin, and that handsome griffin flew into the air, instantly reaching its peak speed. It flew over the heads of the cavalry with an unimaginable speed, instantly arriving on the other side. The calm martial ruler's deep and solemn voice fell down from the clouds, "Everyone move out. Victory! Victory! Victory for the calm martial ruler." The millions of citizens of Imperial City all shouted out together. The calm martial ruler led the cavalry army out. This battle was very important to Southern Xia. Although it was a battle rarely seen in decades, it came at the right time. It was the starting point for the ambitions of this generation's Southern Summer King and the three rulers. The first generation Southern Summer King was a great strategist, setting the capital on the plains and overlooking the Warhound's plains. Many generations of Southern Summer Kings dreamed of taking back the Great Summer Country, but they never had the strength to do so. Now a once-in-a-100-year opportunity was right in front of them. The Warhounds had been in internal strife for many years and were very weak. Southern Xia had been storing up energy for several decades, having enough troops and generals like clouds. They even had a genius like Chu Tian, creating the source energy weapon that changed history. This was a very good chance. Southern Xia would definitely be able to make a comeback. Chu Tian said to the people beside him, "The Southern Summer King has left, we should also go back." Meng Qingwu slightly knit her brows and revealed a look of worry. Although the calm martial ruler is personally leading the troops, the Warhound's invasion this time is not a small matter. After all, this is the first true invasion in several decades, so I'm afraid it will be different from the normal plundering troops. Both sides are evenly matched, and although the Southern Summer Country has the advantage in defense and supplies, the Warhounds are fierce and have more experts than the Southern Summer Country, so this battle will not be easy. We don't understand military matters, so we can only believe in the calm martial ruler. Chu Tian was not worried at all. Even if they did not win this battle, the worst result would be losing the horse farm and losing Southern Xia's elite cavalry, causing Southern Xia to temporarily lose the ability to attack the north. The imperial region would not fall. The Southern Summer King was not a fool, he had already made preparations. The Warhounds would not be able to sneak in, and even if the Warhounds stopped fighting, it would be hard for them to attack Imperial City. The Imperial region had lost a fast attack force, but the other forces were still there. With the three rulers, the Southern Summer King, and the Source Energy Weapon, there was no problem in protecting themselves. Instead of worrying about the calm martial ruler losing, it was better to worry that after the calm martial ruler left Imperial City, Chu Tian would lose a large backer. He had to be more careful in case someone made a move against him. However, when he returned to the Miracle Commerce headquarters, there was a piece of good news. Feng Kaidai and Yun Yao had come to Imperial City. Chu Tian excitedly led everyone out to welcome them. After 2-3 months, the two of them had lost a lot of weight, but their faces were glowing. Feng Kaidai was as gentle as the clouds and Yun Yao was as sharp as lightning. The two of them had left the army for several months, but their strength had not slowed down at all. Although they could not compare to Chu Tian and Nangong Yun, they were still at the same level as Meng Yingying and Meng Qingwu. Both of them were in the peak 5th awakened soul layer. Big Sister Kaidai, Big Sister Yun Yao, you're finally here. Meng Yingying cheered as she gave the two of them a hug. There are many things that have happened in Imperial City these past few days. I'll carefully tell you all about it. There's no rush in telling these things later. Chu Tian pulled Yingying to the side and asked the two of them, have those things been done already? Yun Yao and Feng Kaidai both nodded. Feng Kaidai replied with a smile, we haven't disgraced the mission. We've gone to the 7 southern states and each state has at least 5 large cities covered by the signal. This time we've gone north to build a network for Tsang State and the Imperial region. Good. Everyone was pleasantly surprised. Miracle Commerce had planned for a long time and had finally completed the initial construction. Now the Central State radio station could cover the 7 southern states and Miracle Commerce's communication devices could connect states. This was a milestone in Miracle Commerce's development and a milestone in the continent's development. Chapter 3:14. Miracle Commerce's Imperial City Research Institute was mobilized. In just a short 3 days, they had built an ultra-wave audio transmission system in Imperial City. On the same day, Chu Tian, Meng Qingwu, the two chairmen, Nangong Yun, Meng Yingying, and the other executives, as well as Gu Qianqiu, Zhao Pu, and several other core researchers, all gathered in a small laboratory. Gu Qianqiu was a bit impatient as he rubbed his hands. Can we start now? Including Zhao Pu, every scholar was very excited. No matter who participated in this meaningful test, it was enough to bring glory to their ancestors and leave their name in history. So, how could these old scholars not be excited? Not everyone had this chance. Even those famous scholars of the empires were the same. Chu Tian looked at the time. It's about time, let's start the test. Meng Qingwu walked in front of a brand new radio. This radio was currently turned off. When Meng Qingwu personally turned it on, there was a burst of noise that gradually became clearer. They were now listening to the content of the Imperial City radio station. Begin changing the frequency. Meng Qingwu turned it to a very familiar frequency. There was an ear-piercing noise coming from the radio. They could faintly hear people talking, but it wasn't clear. It was clear that the reception was not good. Meng Qingwu was very patient as she adjusted it back and forth. Suddenly, the noise disappeared. A clear and sweet female voice came from inside. Hello everyone, welcome to Central State's Noon News. I am the Central State radio station's anchor Xiao Ling. Today's broadcast content is... Everyone fell into a daze. As for what the anchor said, they didn't hear a single word. They only felt their blood rushing to their heads, causing them to collapse. We really succeeded. We can receive Central State's signal, we can receive Central State's voice. This group of old men were excited like they had been injected with chicken blood. Meng Yingying and Nangong Yun happily hugged each other. Even the calm Meng Qingwu revealed a smile from the bottom of her heart. It really wasn't easy. It had been more than half a year since the establishment of Miracle Commerce. Although countless milestone inventions had been made, a truly historic step had been taken at this moment. This signified that Miracle Commerce had successfully built the continent's first information network. Central State City and Imperial City were separated by tens of thousands of miles, but people could directly receive it through the radio station. The sound from Central State could pass through the distant space and be steadily received by Imperial City. This set of intercontinental radio stations had already realized the most primitive form of the continent's informatization. The ancient and closed communication method of the continent for millions of years would be completely broken at this moment. The entire world would usher in an informational revolution because of miracle commerce. Meng Qingwu asked, "Should we announce it immediately?" "Nonsense. How can we not announce such a good thing?" Chu Tian hammered the table and said, "Quick, activate the local radio station and all the channels. We have to spread the good news." "All right." Miracle Commerce will open up a free interstate broadcasting service for customers, allowing everyone in Imperial City to hear the voice from Central State. Of course, it will also allow the people of Central State to hear the voice from Imperial City. Chu Tian did not have any thoughts of hiding it. After Miracle Commerce announced their latest achievement, it was no surprise that the entire Imperial City was filled with excitement. Miracle Commerce's radios and magnetic sound machines had a large increase in sales, running out of stock in a single day. The Southern Summer King was immediately alerted. The significance of this radio station was very significant in consolidating the king's rule. The Southern Summer King had come to Miracle Commerce to prepare a cooperation with Miracle Commerce, creating an official kingdom radio station that would represent the king's voice. When he arrived at Miracle Commerce, he heard another shocking piece of news. Miracle Commerce had developed a communication device that could communicate in real time. Miracle Commerce had been researching communication technology for a long time. This was not a secret in Miracle Commerce, especially in the Yun sect, but this was the first time outsiders had heard of it. At this moment, the Southern Summer Country finally recognized Miracle Commerce's skills. The appearance of the communication device had a greater significance and wider prospects. If they could grasp this invention, Miracle Commerce would instantly become a top company on the continent. Scholar Chu, you truly are a person skilled in creating miracles. The Southern Summer King was looking at Chu Tian like he was looking at a piece of fat meat. If he could obtain even 1% of Chu Tian's intelligence, the Southern Summer royal family would be stable for 1,000 years. This kind of super talent was born in Southern Xia. It made the Southern Summer King very excited, but it also gave the Southern Summer King a headache. In this era, strength was everything. The Southern Summer King could sit on the throne because of the Dongfang family's strength. It was all because of the Dongfang family's strength. If there was a power that quickly rose in the country and could even threaten the Dongfang family, what would the Southern Summer King do? Kill him? Now was not the time. Indulge him? He was afraid he would not be able to control it at that time. The Southern Summer King had always been afraid of Chu Tian, mainly because he was too outstanding. Chu Tian did not have any interest in the throne, but the Southern Summer King had a knot in his heart. No king wished for their country to have a power that could surpass them at any time. Even if this person did not have such thoughts, could they guarantee that the people by his side and his descendants would not have such thoughts? It was not important what would happen in the future. The Southern Summer King was anxious to see the current results. He personally came to Miracle Commerce to witness a miracle. Miracle Commerce chose the small square of the headquarters for the experiment. Several hundred Miracle Commerce employees, researchers, as well as the Southern Summer King, the Burning Sun Ruler and the Refined Ruler, were all watching. Miracle Commerce used image transfer mirrors to broadcast this scene to various places in Imperial City. Let's begin. Chu Tian personally walked in front of the communication device and gave a number to it. There was a series of notifications coming from the communication device, and the hearts of everyone present jumped up and down. Would it succeed? Could they really communicate in real time? This was a distance of tens of thousands of miles. There was the vast four-states lake in between, as well as several thousand miles of mountains. No one had time to think before the notifications from the communication device disappeared. A faint noise came through the speakers, and then an old voice sounded, "Hello? This is the Central State Yun sect. This old man is Yun Tianhe. May I ask who you are?" Chu Tian gave a laugh. "Old Yun, it's been a long time since we last talked." "Chairman? Why is it you? Did Imperial City finish building the communication device this quickly? Chu Tian chatted with Yun Tianhe. The entire process was very smooth and there was no noise at all. This scene once again shocked everyone. Everyone stood up and applauded. The Southern Summer King stood up and excitedly shouted, "Good! This is too good! This invention has a large significance to Southern Xia. Scholar Chu is truly a scholar of the country. Someone, give Scholar Chu 1,000,000 gold coins and promote him to a great scholar." A small country like the Southern Summer Country only had one great scholar title. But who cared about these details right now? With Chu Tian's contributions and inventions, not to mention a great scholar title, even a country scholar or a great country scholar would not be enough. From now on, Southern Xia had two great scholars. One was the 100-year-old Gu Qianqiu. The other was the less than 20-year-old Chu Tian. When the kingdom announced this news, everyone was shocked, but no one accused the Southern Summer King of breaking the rules. Chu Tian did not have Gu Qianqiu's fame and prestige, but everything he had done since he established miracle commerce was enough for him to receive the title of Great Scholar. When Chu Tian was in the limelight, there were some people quietly hiding in a dark corner watching everything. That night, a special guest came to the departing Flame Marquis Palace. Ever since the departing Flame Marquis' son Nangong Jian had been heavily injured, the departing Flame Marquis had not left the palace at all. No one knew what he had been doing recently. The Burning Sun ruler and the Southern Summer King had tried to pacify him several times, but it had no effect. It seemed like he still could not get rid of his hatred. The Southern Summer King and the Burning Sun ruler could do nothing about this. At this time, in the departing Flame Marquis room, there were several dim candles lit. He was dressed in red Taoist robes and was sitting on a praying mat. There was a screen in front of him, which made his figure look hazy. When his hoarse voice came out, it added a sense of depth and eeriness. For the heroic martial marquis to visit so late at night, I wonder what your intentions are? This guest was Wang Tianlong. It was unknown if the departing Flame Marquis was intentional or not, but when he heard the name heroic martial marquis, Wang Tianlong's eyes flashed with a trace of anger. This was a glorious title, but it had become a shame that he wanted to wash away. Wang Tianlong did not explode. The departing Flame Marquis knows my intentions, so why ask when you already know? The departing Flame Marquis was silent for a full 5 seconds before saying, "For the great scholar Chu Tian?" Wang Tianlong softly said, "Yes, but not completely." The departing Flame Marquis gave a cold laugh. "Why is the heroic martial marquis hiding it? If you cooperate with me, there is nothing to worry about with Chu Tian. You can leave." The departing Flame Marquis immediately lost interest. The ruler has ordered that the Nangong family is not allowed to move against Chu Tian. This marquis cannot go against the ruler's orders. Wang Tianlong said with a cold smile, "I don't believe that the departing Flame Marquis can swallow this. Think about your son, he is already crippled. He can forget about inheriting the title in this life. The departing Flame Marquis title will be broken. As for the ruler? The departing Flame Marquis shouldn't be counting on this. The Burning Sun ruler is old and not dead, and you are still far from breaking into the true spirit realm. In 10-20 years, Nangong Yun will surpass you, and it is unknown who has the final say in the Nangong family." A burst of killing intent erupted. The dim oil lamp began to flicker. The departing Flame Marquis voice became hoarse. "Before this marquis makes a move, I'll say it again. Please leave." Wang Tianlong was not afraid of this killing intent. This is a once-in-a-lifetime chance. If the departing Flame Marquis does not grasp it, you will regret it. The departing Flame Marquis killing intent became even thicker. Does the heroic martial marquis not understand human speech, or do you want this marquis to send you on your way? All right, I'll leave. But before I leave, I want to tell you something interesting. This is something I heard on the Warhound's plains, and I think many people will be interested in it. What do you want to say? Wang Tianlong calmly said in a relaxed voice. 10 years ago, there was a marquis that shook the Warhound's plains. His light was limitless and he was undefeatable, making people revere him. One day, He was sent to the wrong place by the wrong information, and his whereabouts were discovered by the enemy. After a bloody battle that lasted for a day and night, he was completely annihilated. The candlelight around them began to shake even more, and the atmosphere in the room became even heavier. Wang Tianlong continued to say with a smile, "The one who gave the wrong information was the same person, the Southern Summer Marquis blood-related little brother. Because of his jealousy, he killed his big brother, causing the Nangong family to lose an outstanding successor. Do you think anyone will believe this? What if the secret letter about him colluding with the Warhounds tribe is in my hands?" The candlelight floated up and condensed into a small sword, instantly piercing through a barrier. Wang Tianlong stood in the same place without moving. His essence energy transformed into a flood dragon that broke out of his body and swallowed the small flame sword. The entire room fell into darkness. "What are you panicking for?" Wang Tianlong's voice suddenly turned cold. "You want to kill me to silence me? This might be a good method, but the difference in strength between us is not that big. If I can escape, then the departing Flame Marquis should think about how to face the Burning Sun Ruler and the Southern Summer King." The darkness fell silent for a long time. The departing Flame Marquis deep and low voice rang out, "Tell me, how do you want to deal with Chu Tian?" Wang Tianlong smiled, "I've already said that this is not just to deal with Chu Tian. Let us have a good chat now." Countless sparks appeared in the darkness, and each spark accurately landed on the candlesticks, illuminating this place. Chapter 3:15. Meng Qingwu walked in front of Chu Tian, who was drinking tea. She held an image-transferring mirror in her hands as she reported, "Central State has sent a video of their latest research. Do you want to take a look?" "Is that so?" Chu Tian took a sip of tea. "Just play it for me to take a look." Meng Qingwu opened the image-transferring mirror, and the scene shown in the mirror was from the Central State City testing field. He saw several Yun sect scholars hitting a crystal ball the size of a head onto a catapult, and the crystal ball was covered in runes and runes. This crystal ball attracted Chu Tian's attention because there was a glowing viscous liquid inside the crystal ball, which was clearly refined crude oil. Yun Tianhe gave a signal to start. The Yun sect scholars activated the crystal ball's source energy array, and the crystal ball lit up. The originally stable crude oil began to boil, releasing large amounts of light and heat. The catapult quickly activated and the crystal ball was thrown out. The crystal ball landed 100 meters away and released a terrifying energy. These scholars were all affected, and even the catapult used to throw the crystal ball was destroyed. The recording stopped here. Meng Qingwu closed the hidden image mirror. The Yun sect has not been idle these past few months. Now that they have developed a high-efficiency bomb using source energy batteries, if it can be used in the production of source energy weapons in the future, I think it will be very promising. Chu Tian curled his lips in disdain. What kind of invention is this? It's nothing more than a high-efficiency catalyst that can make the inert crystal oil become active again, using the instability of the crystal oil to create an explosion. The flaws of this bomb were very clear. First, the power and direction of the bomb's explosion could not be controlled. When the crystal ball exploded, the unstable crude oil would splash everywhere and explode, unable to form a fixed explosion area. Secondly, if the bomb could not be thrown out in time, or if it was thrown out, it would cause a large amount of damage to one side. Chu Tian said to Meng Qingwu, "I'll write a proposal and you can help me send it to Central State." When Miracle Commerce established the information transmission channel, this work became much smoother. The two Yun sect research facilities could exchange knowledge and quickly share research results, saving a lot of manpower and resources. When Meng Qingwu took Chu Tian's suggestions and prepared to leave, she suddenly thought of something. That's right. The first episode of the Southern Summer King's Great Summer Beacons has already been completed, and we are preparing to release it in theaters. This time, the number of theaters in Imperial City has increased to 6, and Central State City has also begun to deploy. It is estimated that Miracle Commerce will increase to over 10 theaters this month. Then let's directly broadcast it. I think the Southern Summer King has been waiting for this for a long time. Meng Qingwu nodded and was about to do it. Meng Yingying rushed into the room. "Do you know? There's great news. Meng Qingwu was surprised by her little sister's reaction. What news can make you this happy? Meng Yingying first ran in and drank the cup in Chu Tian's hand before excitedly saying, "There's good news coming from Tsang State." Meng Qingwu and Chu Tian were both shocked. What kind of situation was this? The calm martial ruler had been away for less than a week. There was good news coming this quickly? The Warhound's army was eating shit. Meng Yingying explained, "This news came from the royal palace, so it shouldn't be wrong. The calm martial ruler is too strong, actually teaching the Warhound's cavalry a fierce lesson as soon as he arrived in Tsang State." Chu Tian felt like he needed to understand more, so he prepared to find Gu Qianqiu to ask. Gu Qianqiu was a southern Xia teacher, so he would definitely be more informed about the royal palace than them. Who would have thought that before Gu Qianqiu arrived, the southern summer king would send a messenger? The royal messenger brought a confident message to Miracle Commerce. Not only was it clearer than Meng Yingying's, it even described the entire process in detail. When the calm martial ruler led his cavalry to Tsang State, the Warhound's cavalry had already begun their attack. They had captured 3 cities and their morale was high. Tsang State was in a panic and the situation at that time could be considered very dangerous. In the end, the calm martial ruler saw through the weakness of the Warhound's cavalry with a single glance. The Warhounds were not disciplined, so every time they captured a city, they would immediately kill and pillage, so a portion of their army was lagging behind. When they captured 3 cities, the army was already scattered, with the front and back being 100 miles apart. The calm martial ruler's storm cavalry was split into 3 groups. The first group of 50,000 cavalry acted as a reinforcement and attacked the main Warhound's cavalry. The 50,000 cavalry could not touch the other side, so they fell into a disadvantage and ran away in defeat. When the Warhound's cavalry saw this many southern summer elites, how could they let them go? In their eagerness to obtain merits, the 200,000 soldiers immediately chased after them. The other 200,000 cavalry did not arrive in time and the Warhound's army was pulled apart, creating a situation where the front and back armies were separated. At this time, the calm martial ruler's second group of 100,000 cavalry split the front and back armies. The third group of 50,000 went behind the Warhounds and launched a sneak attack while the Warhounds' cavalry were advancing, cutting off their supplies in one fell swoop. Like this, a trivial 200,000 storm cavalry held back 400,000 Warhounds' cavalry. The 3 layers of separation caused chaos in the front and back armies and supplies of the Warhounds' cavalry, making it hard for them to determine how many people Southern Xia had sent, and they did not know which way to break through. While the calm martial ruler was making arrangements, he also ordered Tsang State's Tsang Yun Marquis to lead 200,000 Tsang State cavalry to the battlefield. They worked together with the Imperial City Cavalry to attack the Warhounds' army in front of them. In this battle, they killed 80,000 of them and the rest of the cavalry were scattered, clearly unable to form an effective battle strength. The calm martial ruler was truly a veteran of the battlefield. The situation on the battlefield could change in an instant. To be able to accurately grasp opportunities, swiftly execute tactics, and control the troops, other than the calm martial ruler, there was no other general in southern Xia that could do this. Now the southern summer cavalry and Warhound's cavalry were fighting in Tsang State. Although there were still over 300,000 Warhound's cavalry, they were being controlled from the front and back, unable to advance or retreat, so southern Xia had the advantage. Although the Warhound's cavalry were strong, they were too weak when it came to strategy, so they were just a motley crew. The southern summer king sent the royal envoy with a request. That was to have Miracle Commerce use the radio to spread the news throughout the country. This kind of victory was a good thing, so Chu Tian would not reject it, immediately announcing it to the entire country. This large victory was already set in stone and the confidence of the southern Xia citizens increased. The southern summer king used this chance to announce the news of the northern expedition, which boosted the morale of countless southern Xia citizens. At this time, Miracle Commerce did not miss this chance and released the Great Summer Beacon made by the southern summer king. This was a movie about patriotism. It was filled with hot blood, dedication, and sacrifice. As expected, when the Great Xia Beacon was broadcasted, It immediately caused a sensation in the capital. The movie sponsors, such as the Flaming Rose Merchant Guild, saw their equipment sales skyrocket, and many mercenary groups began to order weapons from them in batches. The patriotism of the Southern Xia citizens soared, and countless youths prepared to join the army, expanding their territory for Southern Xia. This was the result the Southern Summer King wanted to see. Now that Southern Xia's morale had reached its peak, as long as the calm martial ruler returned in triumph, Southern Xia would be able to lead the army north and embark on a road that had been dreamed of for several generations. In a few days, another piece of good news came from Song State. The calm martial ruler won 3 battles, annihilating a total of over 100,000 enemies and only losing 20,000 people. The Southern Summer Cavalry had a strict offensive and defensive formation. The Warhounds cavalry had already been split up by the calm martial ruler's high-level tactics, so they could no longer gather their battle strength. If this trend continued and there were no more changes, in around 10 days, the calm martial ruler would be able to finish the battle. It was estimated that he would be able to annihilate at least 3/4 of the enemy's army. With these continuous reports, the one who was the happiest was naturally the Southern Summer King. That night, the Southern Summer King summoned Chu Tian and asked Chu Tian, "The calm martial ruler's victory has been decided and this king is preparing to launch a northern expedition. I wonder what you think about this?" "Strange. I don't know how to lead an army. Why are you asking me?" Chu Tian cupped his hands and said, "This little one does not know how to lead an army, but with the 3 rulers' help, this northern expedition will have a great chance. There are already several thousand source energy weapons in reserve, so I think they can be used to equip our soldiers. The Southern Summer Army's battle strength will increase by another level." The Southern Summer King said with a serious expression, "The source energy weapons are Southern Xia's secret. Even the Burning Sun ruler and the Refined ruler do not know much about them. So, regarding the matter of the Imperial City Weapon Factory, you must keep it a secret. Don't reveal the trump card of Southern Xia too early." "Understood. There is a matter that this king needs Miracle Commerce's help with." Chu Tian knew that the Southern Summer King would not see him for no reason. "Dare I ask what it is?" "Since Southern Xia is going on an expedition, information is very important. I want to build a communication system at the frontline fortress before the calm martial ruler returns. This way, Imperial City can exchange information with the other fortresses, greatly increasing the mobility and vitality of the Southern Summer Army." The Southern Summer King said this, "So I want to ask Miracle Commerce to make a trip." "Of course, this king will not miss out on the reward." Chu Tian understood the Southern Summer King's meaning. The Southern Summer King wanted Miracle Commerce to arrange communication equipment at the frontline fortress. This way, the commander of the fortress could send information back to Imperial City and Imperial City could give orders or send reinforcements according to the situation. This changed the traditional method of communication and greatly increased the efficiency of the army. Opportunities were fleeting. If Imperial City could control information during a battle, it would have a decisive effect on the outcome of the battle. Could Chu Tian reject this request? The Southern Summer Country's battle with the Warhounds was related to the fate of the country. If the Southern Summer Country was defeated, the Warhounds would return. With the nest overturned, how could there be an intact egg? Chu Tian had to agree even if he didn't want to. The Southern Summer King was very happy. "All right, this king will be patrolling the border to raise the morale of the Southern Summer Army and prepare for the northern expedition. I'll personally escort you this time." The Southern Summer King would personally escort him? This was truly a large honor. Since the Southern Summer King gave Chu Tian face this time, Chu Tian did not raise any excessive conditions and agreed on the spot. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.